And you are ready to talk about effective mentoring. My name is Stephanie Harper. I work at Palouse Conservation District, and I recently joined CTD to help assist with the mentoring program. And this topic has been really important for past and present CTD members. And so we're really excited to be able to offer this webinar for you today. The sharing of knowledge and information is so important, especially in the conservation world, where things are continually changing and adapting. We have tons of technical tools, funding guidelines, policies, best practices, and those are changing because the environment is changing, because we're learning more about how the natural world works and how we can conserve those resources. Center for Technical Development offers these formal trainings and certifications to help our planners become very knowledgeable and equipped to plan very high quality conservation projects and provide accurate technical assistance to our landowners. And mentoring can really fill in between those trainings, fill in knowledge gaps, and provide our new staff with hands-on applied experience in the field. So of course, mentors are much more than just a knowledge dump that we have. They are a boost in our confidence. They are a push in the right direction. They're a trustworthy resource and can have a lot of influence on your career in general. So today we're going to be talking about mentoring and the tools that are out there for you to build those relationships. So whether you are a current mentor, you're interested in being a mentor, or you're just here because you want to learn more about the topic, we're so incredibly excited for you to be here. I just want to take one brief moment to acknowledge some of our panelists that are helping us with this webinar. Jan Thomas from CTD is here kind of hanging out and monitoring that chat. And then we have David Rose with NRCS, who's going to talk a little bit about NRCS resources for mentoring as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce our facilitator and presenter today, Ray Ledgerwood. Many of you know Ray, but if you don't, Ray retired from the Washington State Conservation Commission a few years ago. I was very lucky to cross paths with Ray before he retired, but there are so many people out there, district staff at other partner agencies and across the country that are so lucky to call Ray their mentor. And so we are excited to have him here talking about his knowledge and expertise on this topic. So with that, Ray, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thanks, Stephanie. What a wonderful welcome, and thank you for the introduction. Indeed, we're here together for the next for this morning to talk about some very important things. And what we want to talk about and leave you with is that you'll receive some outstanding training and information on effective mentoring principles. You know, quality of effective mentors. You'll be identifying those. This is a fairly active webinar today, so be right on your toes. Shut everything off, you know, get ready to meet this objective. We're also going to be talking about mentoring techniques, formal and informal mentoring. We're going to be talking about the questions that you have regarding mentors and mentoring, the mentor resources available, as Stephanie mentioned, and the discussion of mentoring practices through interactive presentations and discussions. So again, pretty active webinar we've got planned for you today, including some small group activities, some work, you know, together, some sharing of stories about mentoring, good and maybe not so good. And then your top 3 tips in your small group are going to come out from that. So we're going to meet this objective today with this agenda, our welcome comments and agenda. will be first. The self-introductions come up right now. In fact, if you want to get a leg up on that, you can type in your name and organization in the chat box right now, and we'll record that for the notes too. So go ahead and do that. The benefits of mentoring will be the next agenda topic. Mentoring principles then will follow up. The benefits of mentoring. Effective mentoring qualities. Really, what are qualities in good mentors that we want to have? And actually, David is going to talk a bit about effective mentees, or the folks receiving the mentoring, and how to get the most out of that experience. We're going to, as promised, we're going to have a small group discussions around participant mentoring examples, and have some discussion in a small group setting. All right, top 10 tips. Actually, it's going to be the top tips. It may be 10, maybe 12 from the small group discussion, right? That you lift to us for our consideration of effective monitoring. Also, we're going to talk about mentoring resources that are available through the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Center for Technical Development. Both our speaker Stephanie and David will be entertaining you with some of those pieces of information about where you go for mentoring resources, and some general discussion, some questions that you might have, or examples that we need to lift. All right, and then we want to follow that important work with the announcement of Center of Technical Development events and activities that are coming up, and some concluding remarks by Stephanie. One of my favorite quotes, those of you that have listened and heard me in presentations before may remember that I use this quote, even this song, every once in a while. When you get to where you're going, turn back around and help the next one in line. And for those of us that are mentoring, that are kind of concluding our careers, right, in conservation work, this is an important statement. For those of you that are right in the mid part of it, I still think this is an important statement. For those of you that are just starting and you get to where you wanted to get, and turn back around and help the next one in line. You could have just finished your degrees, right? You could have just been, just finished some certifications. Turn around, help the next one in line. Whatever age you are, whether you're 20 or 60 something, it's important for you to turn back and help. So Tim McGraw gave us some wonderful things to think about there. Self-introductions, I already mentioned this. Many of you are already taking care of that. Use the chat feature to enter your name and your organization. Go ahead and do that now and type that in. We'll record that and put that in the notes so we know who joined us. Get ready to write. Grab a piece of paper or something to write with and get ready to write some ideas. These will be ideas that you want to take forward from this webinar today. Something that you heard and that you really want to follow up on. Somebody that you want to contact or make contact with, you're just going to have that idea. Just go ahead and write that down. Make sure that you follow up with it. You'll get the most out of the webinar if you do that and actually follow up on some of the ideas. So write down the tips of the trade that are coming up, and also write down some of those ideas that you want to do. Let me start out as your moderator today with just a vision that I'll offer to you, that every conservation partner, technical position will be a mentor or have a mentor, right? Every technical position. And I think this goes beyond that. I think you could also say every manager, every administrative person, anybody within the district ranks would have a mentor or be a mentor for someone. So this would include our districts, our Natural Resources Conservation Service, or partners. We would have high technical competency, and would be service oriented so that the employees would be recognized and appreciated by landowners throughout our state. When I would make a random call maybe to a landowner out there, they would say, oh my gosh, that person that came from our conservation district was so good. They helped me do X, Y, and Z. They were so excellent at what they did and so helpful to me. And that Washington State will be recognized as the best technical certification system in USA. So beyond the mentoring, we're going to talk a little bit about how that relates to certification, how that relates to checkoffs and that sort of thing, and job approval authorities and things like that that are important too. So we would have the best system in place, better than any place else in the nation. And you already have a leg up on that, having formed the Center for Technical Development in years past and having worked on several different aspects of technical development. All right. So the mentoring definition that we'll work from today is this one: someone with firsthand lived experience in a particular role or a position who has the ability and time dedicated or generally available to synthesize, articulate, and pass on relevant aspects of that experience to someone that's entering a similar position or role. Now, what's interesting about this is that they may be just entering, as the beginning of their career, or re-entering part of their career with a new role that they need to have some mentoring and some experience on. And so you're looking for someone with that firsthand lived experience. Now, I was speaking with Stephanie and Jan before we started the webinar today, and making note that age matters to the extent that you're looking for someone that can fulfill that role. I had a mentor when I was 23 years old that was just maybe 2 or 3 years older than me. His name was Dusty Eddy. You'd have to be an old person to remember Dusty Eddy working in the Colfax field office. But Dusty took me under wing, only 2 or 3 years older than me, and he helped me learn the ropes as I entered into the conservation district arena and started working with conservation districts. And he helped me in multiple ways. Also, I had another mentor that was just finishing his career, Felix Enteman, who was excellent, and had just that wide range of experience in working with groups, facilitating groups, and facilitating meetings, and working with the conservation districts in Eastern Washington. Those two people formed my mentoring team, which is another point that we'll make here, is that sometimes it's not just one mentor, it may be a couple of mentors, and they may be different ages for different purposes of your mentoring experience. All right, but they do have that firsthand lived experience in a particular role. Dusty had just started the job with SCS at the time, and he was able to help me with a lot of different information that I needed to know about programs and Farm Bill, and just a lot of stuff. Actually, even getting to know some of the farmers in the Whitman County area was kind of fun through Dusty's eyes. What are the benefits of mentoring? Here's your first focus question. We're going to have you begin work right now as we get part of this interactive activity. Hopefully you're all ready. Raise your hand if you're ready. Okay, just saying. All right, let's get going. All right, first question. The most important benefit of mentoring. The most important benefit of mentoring is what? And you're going to finish that statement in the chat box. The most important benefit of mentoring is this. Go to the chat. I want to see each one of you that are on the line today in our webinar just answer that question. The most important benefit of mentoring is this. And go ahead and send that to everyone, by the way, so that we can all see your responses. Jan's going to help me record those. I'm going to mention some of those as we go along. Go ahead and type those in right now. The most important benefit of mentoring is passing on that institutional knowledge to the next line. Yep. Sharing knowledge in a support system, learning from past mistakes so you don't have to make that same ones again. Mentoring makes you work easier in the future. The credibility of the mentor, the collaboration and team building that goes on, investment in human capital, the passing on knowledge and creating connections, and learning from past mistakes. Succession planning success also is a very, very interesting point to be made too. Helping that next generation go on to that next place in hand with new ideas and new enthusiasm. Thank you for those comments. Excellent, excellent. And the collaboration and team building, the investment in human capital, the knowing that someone cares about you because they'll take the time, from their busy schedules to sit down with you and say, here's what you might think about. Oh, you're looking at this career move, or you're looking at this technical certification. Here's how you might go around. Here's how you might go about that, and being able to help you with those items that you want in your career. Thanks for entering those in the responses, and we'll collect those and we'll put those into notes that will come back to you. Two things Jan, Stephanie, and I are going to do is make sure that you have the notes and the recording from today's session. Just that usually comes up somewhere in our discussions. Well, let's talk about mentoring principles, and thank you for that chat. Be ready for the next chat, because there's going to be another question come up here in not too long, and we want to make sure that you grab those also and have a chance to enter some of those comments. Excellent comments, man. So we're going to go to a presentation on effective mentoring principles, mentoring techniques, formal and informal mentoring, roles and expectations. And we'll also have some questions and discussion around mentoring principles. First of all, let's talk about the definition. I'll give a definition to you. And we've talked about that already. The purpose of mentoring, the components of mentoring, including technical support, career advising, and interpersonal insight. And what's interesting when I post those to you, and there'll be 3 sections to this presentation today, but those components, technical support, career advising, and interpersonal insight. You'll be very fortunate if you're a mentee, right, to have, one person that can provide all those things. That usually doesn't happen. If you're a mentor and you think that you might be able to provide, some information on each of those, that's great too. But oftentimes it's a couple of mentors working with a mentee that will give you that kind of rounded knowledge, right, to get to the technical support, the career advising, and just some interpersonal insight, as to weaknesses and strengths. Have anybody heard of the concept of blind spot? Blind spot. That kind of an interesting term, isn't it? Blind spot is that particular weakness that you have that no one wants to share with you unless they're very close with you. Only the closest of friends or colleagues or a mentor would be willing to share with you that your blind spot is this. So true confessions. I'm sitting there with Mark Clark, my boss, for several years. And part of our evaluation system in the Washington Conservation Commission was to examine blind spots. He told me, he said, Ray, he said, your blind spot is you're too nice. You want to befriend everybody, and sometimes you can't deliver the tough messages. And I thought, wow, self-reflection, your bosses said, and Mark was a boss. And unlike mentoring, he was my boss, so he could talk with me about blind spots. Too nice, couldn't deliver the tough messages. One of the things about people that will talk with you, whether it's a mentor or a boss, about your blind spot, is that they just gave you a gift. Because what I realized was he was right. And then I did have a difficult time going to a conservation district and talking with them about something that was really bad, right? Really not working well, and something that they needed to change. Is it mentoring? Is it advice? Is it a boss being a good boss? Who cared? I got that blind spot, right? I got that knowledge of that blind spot and then could do something about it. Mentors oftentimes will be able to fulfill that role. They'll be able to talk with you about something that's needed, in your career path, something that they can really help with, right? Something that they can see that no one else can see because they're that close to you. So I think that these are very important and just basic, information pieces. I'm going to offer you some quotes. Here's what Oprah said about a mentor. Isn't it cool? Hope inside yourself. Here's what Jim Rohn said. Let's do something. Diaz, colleagues are a wonderful thing. Mentors, that's where the real work gets done. And finally, Maxwell. Navigate a course. Crosby, brain to pick, ear to listen. Push in the right direction. Hancock wanted to share after they had been helped along the way. Spielberg, wonderful quote by Spielberg, right? You sit there and you look at that and said, oh, it's not a mini me, right, that we want, or a maxi me. It's a them, they, the mentee, being the best that they can be. And as a mentee, right, if you're on the line and you're looking for a mentor, this is the type of mentor quality I hope that you would seek out, right? One that wants that balance of, giving good experience, knowledge, and skills, right, but not create their own image of them. Kind of a tough balance when you're a mentor in particular. Newton, didn't know that Isaac Newton had a quote on mentoring, but here it is, huh? Seen the future further. I've seen further by standing on the shoulders of giants. Huh? How fun. And a mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself and brings that out in you, said Proctor. Okay, thought-provoking people, that had a thought about mentoring. There's some quotes. All right, the real purpose of mentoring: to aid in the development of rounded, competent professionals who will be able to carry out high-quality work and contribute in the growth of the field. So again, Center for Technical Development, the whole idea around that was to provide technical folks, that are in our conservation district system with more tools, more techniques, more opportunities for career advancement, more opportunities for certification, high quality work was what we were shooting for all along. And I know that you've been doing this for years. And to give the opportunity for senior professionals, and this is where senior professionals can actually pass on their knowledge. So we have something. I'm reminded often nowadays when I'm working with the Next Generation Leadership Institute that I need to make sure that while I pass on that knowledge, the next caveat is, oh my gosh, but you guys are going to do it so much better, right? So here's what we did, but don't be dismayed or don't be discouraged or don't be, affected too much by what we did, because you now have a time in our conservation work, right, where your idea might just be better than we ever had. Okay. The technical support, we want to establish a level of protege technical knowledge. And I know David's going to speak a little bit about this. Also, Stephanie may speak a little bit about this, but that technical knowledge, when you switch from mentor to coach to actual someone that certified your work, things like that, kind of different roles, but we kind of mold that together oftentimes talking about a mentor. Well, it might be a mentor that talks with your career and technical things and things like that, that certifies also. Or you might have a mentor that works with you on your career things, and a technical advisor or technical certification agent that works with you on coaching and getting to the right place for these types of certifications that you want as a technical employee. So incrementally review and discuss the work, help identify gaps in the protege knowledge. This is the tough stuff for the mentor, right? Is that you're recognizing that this individual has really strong talents in this, and that, and really needs some help in this particular knowledge of what they're going to be working with. And then suggest the options to build on that knowledge, that is needed. Share the relevant knowledge and information that they've received during the course of their experience, whether it's just been the last 2 years or whether it's been 30 years or 40 years, and then direct to an established means of continuing education. These things are particularly important because one of the things we're going to promote all along is a training plan for every employee in the state of Washington, technical and otherwise. Everybody would have a training plan. And so being able to take that training plan and move that from one piece to the other, right, is such an important thing to be able to do. And the opportunity to be able to use that knowledge, right, and say, okay, here's a gap, number A, number B, number C. CTD also did some very nice work in building training plans for different technical positions. And that allowed people to be able to go down and say, yep, got that one, took that class, did this, did that, did the other. And those are important pieces too. So let's switch to career advising for a bit, the benefits of the mentoring principles regarding career advising. So being able to identify and help establish a career goal with the protege. Have you thought about this or that or the other? Where do you want to be, in your work? Do you want to be this conservation district technical position? Do you want to be a district manager? Do you want to be this? Do you want to be that? And identifying that and talking about it is an important thing, because that will shift the ability of the mentor to be able to help that mentee get to those places by sharing their career experiences. Went here, did that, went here and did this, and who, got to where I needed to go. Regarding that one, that's kind of an interesting one in my own case, because people would ask me, how did you get to NACD? And, working for a National Association of Conservation Districts, being one of their staff people traveling the nation and doing training and facilitation, that sort of thing. How did you get there? And the honest answer is it was just a step at a time, right? It was working for the State Conservation Commissioner in the Eastern Washington as a field representative. Interest in training and facilitation led me to get more training from Cooperative Extension and other folks, and then have those career experiences. And then when NACD switched and had a retired individual in the Pacific region, that position opened up, and lo and behold, having never thought about that before. If you'd asked me a year before that, do you want to work for NACD? I would have told you, I don't know. I don't know that much about it. I don't know. But your career will take those kind of leaps and bounds. And I contacted my boss at the time, Wayne Reed, and he said, why not? He said that would be like you're working with 14 conservation districts now. Why wouldn't you work with 7 Pacific region states associations and use your skills and abilities to do that? So it was actually a boss, you know, that was kind of a mentor too. And we don't really suggest that, you know, it has to be the case. But in this case, he was kind of a career advisor to me. And he said, you should go do that. You know, I said, well, what about my job here? He said, don't worry about that. You're fine. We'll find somebody that's just as good or better than you. And go forth and apply. So anyway, this is very important, because if you look up to someone that can give you guidance as to where the job advancement opportunities are in a field that fits your goals, right, as a protege, or fits the protege's goals. You know, is it this, is it that, or the other? I spent a lot of airplane time sitting with somebody next to me talking about conservation districts, if they were willing to talk with me. What do you do for a living was the question that opened it up. I told them I work with conservation districts, and if they went back to reading their book, I just, you know, kind of cut it off there. But if they wanted more information, that would oftentimes lead to a discussion about, you know, about wanting to have a role in conservation districts as a board member or as an employee. So that connection, the protege with others that are in the conservation community. Have you talked with this person? Have you talked with that person? You know, do you know this person? You know, is a very important part of that. And oftentimes those of us that have been and established those, built those relationships over time, have that ability to be able to connect you with other places. And so that happens pretty regularly. And I always enjoy, you know, being able to help someone that wants to learn, you know, something about someone else that's out there doing that. Help identify the required training and the tools for possible job advancement opportunities. So if you're going to go to this particular job with these particular certifications needed, right, and this particular sign-off capability, then here's the path, right, that you need to take from this to this to this to this in order to be able to do that. Some of it might be ag learn, some of it might be CTD, you know, activities and trainings. Some of it might be WADE trainings, some of it might be commission trainings, and all of those are important, and being able to lay that out in a training plan. Let's move our attention then from a career kind of focus to interpersonal insight. Now this one gets a little bit touchy, because, you know, you're actually sharing quite a bit of information with your mentor or the person that you really respect. But that, as long as you keep that proper role that position is going to fill, right? You're not making decisions for that mentee as a mentor. You're just offering, you know, some interpersonal insight, and with the spirit of doing that, they use or not use, right, the things that they want to be able to use from that mentoring experience. I think that's very important when it comes to just sharing relevant information about others in the community that can help out with some of the career advancements that you want to make. And your role as a mentor would be to help connect a protege, mentee, as it were, with the others, the technical assistants in the regulatory community. You know, I think back again, you know, and age, you know, I'm very much a student of this generational intelligence pieces, right? So that people nowadays might be more comfortable, right, in their 20s talking with another 20-year-old that's just had a few experiences. Some are going to be very comfortable talking with 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds and that sort of thing. But I would say that being able to connect people, you know, with the current group of technical people, right? The EPA folks, the Department of Ecology folks, the fish wildlife folks and whatnot, being able to connect that is a very important part of mentoring, right? Being able to introduce people to this person and that agency and that person and that person and that person, and having established and helping that relationship grow, right? How can that individual help? How can you help that individual, you know, in achieving some of the things they want to do? All right, so the 3 components above are most important. And the fact is the protege may not always know what they don't know. So that's part of the mentoring effort, right? Is that maybe you've had that experience as a mentor and you can help them kind of think through that a little bit. Oh my gosh, have you thought about this? I love, in a mentoring sense, right, the power of a question. And the power of a question, a well thought out question, is, have you thought about this? Did you know this person or that person or that person? Have you already met them, right? So in asking the question, you're allowing that mentee, that individual that you're mentoring, to be able to respond to you, engage with you, right? And you're not just telling them. The role of a good mentor is not just to just tell, you got to go do this and you got to go do that. And if you're going to be successful in this career, you got to do that. No, no. In my opinion, my humble opinion, the mentor would ask the right question, allowing the individual, the mentee, right, to say, well, I never really thought about that. Kind of that example I gave you about NACD. Have I thought about it working for NACD? Heck no. I was just happy here in Eastern Washington doing my thing out here because, that's what I do. I knew the people, I had family connection, I had connection on connection, I'm just fine. Mentor, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, these people started mentoring me about, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Things I didn't know, right? That I might want to do. You're working in a highly technical field. That means that you got to be able to, work with those landowners in highly technical questions that they're going to have. Our landowners nowadays are so much more advanced than they were when I was a 20-year-old, right? And they are out there. Many of them have degrees. Many of them have lots of information. They've got other sources of information. So the ability for you to be able to do highly technical work, right, with them, and you're going to want to help along the way. So are you headed in the right direction? Have you got the right information you need to be successful in that role that you just took on, whether it be engineer, technician, conservationist, wildlife expert, urban conservation specialist, whatever it might be? Do you have the right stuff to get there? And then another note here is just understanding that role of the conservation planner in relation to cooperators. So because many of the technical coaching that David's going to speak with you about, and also Stephanie's going to touch on a little bit too, it has a relationship to the cooperators, the regulatory offices, and others that have learned from their experiences, right? So, some of us know some of the people in the Department of Ecology and have known that they just, they got beat up really bad in meetings and whatnot, because of what they said or what they did. And their experience, transcended to some great discussions and mentoring that they were able to give to their field people that they began to supervise after they, got beat up pretty bad. They were able to help them understand, this is what you might ask, this is what you might not. Okay, stop right here. We're at a good spot for some questions and discussion. And so I'd like to just open it up for any questions or discussion. You can enter it in the chat, raise your hand, whichever you prefer. Let's take on your first questions you might have about the benefits of mentoring or mentoring and mentoring principles that we may have touched upon. Who will get us started? Question or two. Yeah, you mentioned don't recommend bosses mentor, and I can elaborate on that. Thanks, Rachel. The boss-employee relationship, needs to be pure enough as it is. They're evaluating your performance. They make decisions about, whether or not you're going to be compensated. Your compensation is going to change. They may even be directly involved if you needed to make improvements on certain things based on your evaluation. Is it a mentoring role? It can be for the right boss, but so many bosses, that boss subordinate just needs to be pure and simple that way. Have you ever had Rachel, a really special uncle or aunt or someone in your family that came to you and said, hey, Rachel, you might consider this, right? Or don't do that, Rachel. That's probably not a good idea. And it didn't come from your mom or dad, right? Like your direct boss. It came from someone out on the side. That boss subordinate role, oftentimes it's someone off of the side that will see a blind spot that the boss didn't even see, or can see a career opportunity the boss wouldn't see or tell you about, because they don't, selfishly, they may not want you to leave, right? Your current position or your current things. So that's why I said you kind of might want to consider, that a boss being a separate item, boss subordinate role, different than the mentor, and the mentor being able to say things and do things with you that the boss, might regret or might not want to do, that sort of thing, right? That's how I'd elaborate on that. Special bosses have the ability to walk both roles. there's there, but not every boss does. In fact, David Rose can tell you about a boss he had that we actually knew, both of us knew, right? And he could walk both lines. He would ride down the road with you in a car and talk about everything related to your career and your family and that sort of thing, and then he could buckle down and he could write your evaluation, performance evaluation, and recommend things, that as a boss would. That's a special person, not normal, right? But very blessed if you got them. I hope you do. How do you mentor as a boss without coming across as top down? Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. That individual, that mentioned that, Renee, you just mentioned that. I think you're exactly right. It could be misinterpreted. Boss says this, now all of a sudden you got that, they told me I had to do this. Well, actually they were trying to help out, but it didn't come across that way. So I agree, Renee. How do you mentor as a boss without coming across as top down? I think you use good questions, Renee. I think the questions that I'd have in my hip pocket are, have you considered this? Have you met with this person? Have you built a relationship with that person? Those would be the questions, Renee, I would use as a boss, if you were, doing those both roles, right? Mentoring and a boss. Yeah, kids, yeah, great example of kids get the parent deaf to your vegetables. Yeah, eat your vegetables, do this, do that, do the other. It's just mom or dad saying that. But wow, you got an uncle or an aunt. I had a great uncle, and he would give me the dickens, right? If he saw me doing something that was wrong. Pomeroy's a small community, right? So everybody knew everybody, but so it took a village, right? But this one uncle was a good mentor of me as I was growing up as a teenager, telling me, don't be stupid, don't be doing this, don't be doing that. It's kind of a mentoring role. All right. Alan suggested lead from behind, make them think it is their idea. Certainly. And I've got, Alan, a great statement that I used regularly, and that was what they're in on, they're not down on. So if you ask the question, as a mentor, you've got that individual in front of you. If you ask the right question, that mentee or that protege is going to tell you, well, I really haven't thought about that. Or that's a good idea. I would have interest in pursuing this part of my career. Or I do have interest, in meeting that new individual over in that agency I'm going to be working with. Or I do have interest in new classes or new certifications or do this and that. So as Alan points out, that leading from behind means that the protege, right, or the mentee has the lead role. And you as the mentor ask the right question. These are great questions. I hope we're covering them well. And let me pass it to Dave and to Stephanie. And if you've got anything to add to those questions that we've had come in while we wait for the next questions to come in.
Well, I wanted to just kind of pop in there a little bit where you were on the question about how do you mentor as a boss,
right?
Without coming across as top down. And I think Ray is right. It's kind of a tricky tightrope walk. For some folks, it comes really easily. For others, not so much. But that doesn't mean you can't learn how to do that. It's more of an attitude of, I think, kind of looking at the mentoring. I look at two ways, and I've talking with the group before when we were putting this together, of the difference between mentoring and coaching. And it's as that boss, you can easily coach. And maybe that makes sense when you talk about coaching. Well, if you tried this, if you did this, if you did this, that kind of thing. Coaching is a little bit more, putting it that way, is a little bit more understandable, I guess, when you put it into the boss perspective. However, a boss can be a mentor. Typically, there is a good reason why, as Ray was saying earlier, we'd recommend not having the boss as a mentor, simply because of your boss could have a blind spot about you, for instance.
Right.
So it's helpful to have other perspectives.
Yeah, and Valerie brings up a good point. Bosses can seek mentors of their own, and boy, we encourage that. All the way up through my career, and even now, I love good mentors. I ask them questions. I watch them work, right, as facilitators or co-facilitators or trainers, and I learn every day. I ask them, how we might be better, right, at what we do. So bosses seeking mentors, that's an exceptional quality in a boss, right? That you hope that every boss that you have is doing that, and that they're posing to a mentor, questions and discussions and maybe issues that haven't been resolved, and figuring new ideas, new approaches and better approaches to do that. So good point. All right, enter those questions and or comments. Stephanie, did you have anything to add to our first couple of items that we've covered here today? Benefits of mentoring and mentoring principles.
Wanted to reiterate, that difficulty of being a supervisor and wanting to coach and be a mentor,
Right.
Especially for kind of those career position, or those early career positions, right? Because we want to see our employees do well, to excel, to take on every opportunity. So I just wanted to mirror that, the hardship of being a really good boss and being a mentor, or wanting to be a mentor, and yet knowing that line kind of exists. So I think as a boss or a supervisor, I think it's good to know that line, and maybe you have some people in your network that you could suggest to your employees to be a mentor, to help your employees kind of seek out that extra help from outside of your supervision and boss duties. So I struggle with that a lot in my current position, supervising AmeriCorps members, because they are with us for such a short time, and they tend to kind of spend most of their time with their site supervisor. So trying to get them to break out and meet new people and experiences, I feel, is very important.
Boy, and AmeriCorps, you just touched on a whopper, right? I mean, they are there to learn those skills, right? They are there to advance into careers that they want to be involved with, or experiences that they haven't. So helping those folks along, that's incredible. David, we got one comment in here. What's an example of a blind spot a boss mentor may have about a mentee? Blind spot.
My apologies for turning off my video. I didn't think anybody needed to see me eating my breakfast. So anyway.
You're right. Thanks.
Yeah.
We would mentor you to do that, not do that.
Yeah, I know. I do my best there.
Yeah.
That's a good question. An example of a blind spot could be, for instance, as an employee, you're trying to learn what you can. You maybe have career goals and that type of thing. There are some bosses, for instance, who might not necessarily want you to grow too much too fast, because then they lose you too fast.
Right.
So while I think we could all agree that's probably not the right way to go, it can happen. That's why I would really look to other perspectives when you look for a mentor. That doesn't mean you can't learn from a boss. It could be a great boss, but maybe they might not be as free of helping you grow as fast as you possibly can. If there's that, maybe it could be an unconscious bias. They don't really want to lose people because it's a pain in the butt. You then have to go and hire a replacement. You have to train them up and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it is as a supervisor, it's, I don't know, irritating is the wrong word, but it's just something that it adds work to you, getting people up to speed.
Well, I can tell you a quick story too about that difference between a boss and a mentor. I fired 2 people in my career. That's not too bad, I think, right? That it was just 2. But the one that I fired when I was in a farm supply co-op truly exhibits why I couldn't be a good mentor to him, because I had a blind spot. This guy would run from customers. He would run to the back lot, to avoid customers coming into our store, our hardware store. Not a good thing, right, for a person that's employed to wait on customers, right? And it just, my blind spot with this individual was that he just needed to buck up and do the doggone job I hired him to do, right? That I was hiring him to do. Well, what was wrong about that was after I fired him, right, for not doing the job, he came back to thank me. And I thought, well, this is odd. Why you thank me? He said, Ray, he said, if you wouldn't have fired me, I wouldn't have went down the road and got with a garbage collection, company, right? That all I had to do was pick up another can, throw it in the truck, one more can, one more truck, just keep on going. I didn't have to talk with people. His main energy was to not have a lot of people contact and still do something of value for society. I was blind to that. I needed a retail salesperson. I didn't need somebody that didn't have contact with people, but that's what he wanted. He came back, he said, I'm in a good spot. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm doing something of value, and you made it happen because you fired me. And I thought, well, you got to be kidding me. And all of that's good. And that is an example of how my blind spot, right, that I couldn't see, where I couldn't even coach, I couldn't even mentor this poor guy, because I was so angry as a boss for him not doing his work, right? That I couldn't even stop the train long enough to say, hey, Rick, what is it you really want to do? Now, the bosses that can do that, stop the train long enough, still do the boss role, right? Still do the evaluations that you still got work to do, but turn around and ask the question, what is it you really want to do, over the next few years? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? Or where do you want to be in the next few years? And Rick might have told me, I don't want to deal with all these people that are coming in the store. I just want to do something as that and help them along the way. Hopefully that's a good example. Interesting, great discussion. Questions are always welcome. Just remind you to use that chat feature to enter your question at any time. We'll pick it up and make sure that we do that. Kind of interesting things along the way. You know what? I lost track with Rick. I almost want to call Rick and find out how it's going, to just, because I cared deeply about him as an employee of our co-op at the time. All right, switching gears to you folks. Question is, the most important quality in an effective mentor is this, and you fill that out in the chat. So fill up the chat. Each and every one of you, I want to know what the most important quality of an effective mentor is in your opinion. Go ahead and type that in the chat right now. Most effective quality of a mentor would be this: empathy, integrity, and honesty, patience and accountability, listening and patience. Go ahead, and if there's a duplication, that's fine. Honesty. They have excellent listening skills, having the time to establish that relationship and to listen. Keep those coming. The most important quality of an effective mentor would be this: perception and clear communication as a mentor. Keep them coming. We promise interactive activities. So shut down your email, your browser, get with it. Tell us what it is. Effective. Good, good, good. Desire for mentee to succeed. Oh, excellent. And remember, it's not about the mentor. It's about the protege and what they want to get done. Good point, right? Where do you want to be, in the next few years? Passion for the people. Excellent examples. These are examples of the most important quality and effective mentoring. You see kind of a very succinct kind of combination of things here. Empathy comes up a few times, listening skills, extreme listening skills. That mentor, and if you're in the mentoring role, you almost have to shut off the rest of your life to be able to listen well to what that person wanted. And silly me at 20 some years old at the farm supply co-op, not even listening to Rick, not even having a cup of coffee with him, would be an example of, not doing what I should have been doing. Maybe knowing when you're not a good match for the mentee. And thanks for that comment, because that is an important quality too. When it just doesn't work, right? Or it shouldn't work, or someone else would be a better mentor, right, for that individual, for whatever reason. Generational intelligence, a match to the things that they want to do in the future, the personalities, value sets, that sort of thing. Oh my gosh. And even nowadays, it's the politics of the doggone thing. I want to just scream when I think that politics is getting in the way of good mentoring and whatnot. But if we're really realistic about this, you're going to want someone with a value set that you really appreciate, and admire. So that would be good. Credibility comes up also as a quality of an excellent mentor. So we're going to put these into the notes, and this is the type of thing that you would want to be if you're a mentor. If you're a mentee, these are the qualities that you want in your mentor. So if you have the opportunity to select a mentor or ask someone to be your mentor, you're looking for someone that's going to listen well, has clear communication and perception. They have that desire. Their main purpose is to have you succeed and be what it is that you want to be. Remember, it's not about the mentor, it is about the protege, the passion for the people, empathy skills, credibility, that sort of thing. And some of the things that we've not mentioned here maybe is the experience related to where that pathway, that journey, right, that career journey is taking that individual. Someone with experience there, they may not even have the same value set, but man, they've been there and done that, right? And to be able to do that. Some of my mentors are kind of crass, really, but they had the experience and knowledge that I needed to hear, right? Some of them were very direct and ornery about the way that they delivered their mentoring. Don't recommend it, but sometimes it works, right? Sometimes it was that lesson. I get one more example of that. One of my mentors, and I'll mention him by name, John McDonald from Oregon, was very heavily involved in NACD. And I did what I thought was the most wonderful program for the Oregon Association one day. And he walked up to me after I completed, he shook my hand and he said, "You could have done a better job." Now, that's set like a rock, right? Kind of ticked me off a little bit. Some of you know that I have experience in wrestling back in the high school days and whatnot. I just wanted to take him down and pin him. But John, and he walked away. And I got mad. I went up to my room. I just upset me so badly. And then I remembered a basic principle. If you're upset with somebody, you go right back to them and find out what it is that, what caused the issue or concern. So I went back to John at the dinner. I found him, and he and his wife, Ginger. I said, "John, you said I could have done better. What is it that you think I could have done better?" And I was kind of ornery about it, right? And he looked at me and said, he said, "I would suggest that you would have used your time this way, and that way. And the question that you would have used for a focus question would have been this and that and the other." And in that, it was like, oh my God, John just handed me a gift that I would use for years to come. The way that I would structure my presentation, the way that I would do my questions with the audience, the way I would do this and that. He just lifted me up higher than I had ever thought I could ever be. And he became a mentor, a friend, a person I would call. "Hey, John, I got this particular training coming up. How would you approach this?" And John would say, "Well," he said, "I would do it this way and that way." Kind of crass, kind of ornery. Ornery, right? Telling me I should have done better, for the Oregon Association. And I thought I did pretty well as first few weeks of my NACD, experience. But I used that forever. And I talked with John and Ginger. I'd always seek him out, right, to find out what I could have done better whenever I did a program when he was in the room. Mentor, friend, mentor, blind spot, mentor, compassionate, mentor, cared about me, mentor, empathy, mentor, listener, mentor. He wanted me to be the best I could be. And on those days, occasionally when John would catch me doing something right, he would tell me that too. He'd say, "Wow, that was a good piece of work. I wouldn't have thought of that, or I wouldn't have came about it that way. Have you thought about this?" John made a statement. I would have suggested he would have asked me a question on how I might have done better, and then he would have entered into a discussion with me. But that's not the way it came out. All right. Thank you. The most important quality. Thanks for putting those in the chat. We've got those in our notes now. And right now, we're right on time. I think we had scheduled a break, and I think it's a good idea. I think we should go get a coffee refill, a tea refill, something that we need, but please don't leave, because we've got a lot of really nice things coming up. One of them is going to be, we're going to put you in small groups after that break and actually have you talk about your mentoring examples and discussion, share a little bit, with the idea coming up with 3 top tips for effective mentoring, or mentoring that you're going to offer to us, effective mentoring, and where you found that to be the case. So again, after you come back from your break, we're going to put you into small group discussion where you talk about your mentoring examples, kind of some of those things that we just talked about in a small group setting, and come up with 3 mentoring tips that you've got that you're going to lift to the big group. If that sounds good, we're going to start the break now. Stephanie, am I missing anything? Stephanie, David, Jan? No, we're good. If this works, and it sometimes doesn't, sometimes does, it will count down. So you'll be able to come back to your computer and say, oh, I got 5 minutes left, or I've got 9 minutes left, or whatever. See you in 10 minutes, folks. Okay, folks, let's check our watches. I think that's close to 10 minutes. Jan, Stephanie?
I was just thinking that I did not look at the clock before we left, but probably approximately 10 minutes.
I think so too. And the countdown slide didn't want to work today, but you know, that happens. All right, folks, it's time to start. What we're going to do now is split you up. It looks like we've probably got a couple of groups that will form here. And the idea here is just to have a small group discussion about experiences that you've had and come up with the top 3 tips for effective mentoring. All right. And I see a slide change there that I need to make, but the top 3 tips for effective mentoring is what we are going to be working with. So I'm going to put a couple of things here. I want to just make sure I've got everybody's. I'm going to suggest that you just share for, you know, maybe 20 minutes or so and come up with the top 3 tips in 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about those as we go along. So the top 3 tips in mentoring that you can come up with, but also share some, you know, share what it is that you've had experience in doing or having before. So we're going to break up into small groups now, make our breakout rooms, and see if we can get this started here. Hang on. Okay. I think we'll go to 2 breakout rooms, Stephanie and Jan, if that's all right. And see how we're going. Okay. And make sure that I've got a facilitator in each. Got Stephanie and I in one. I got David and okay. David in one. I'm gonna move one. Hang on while I move just one over. Stephanie, you and I are in one, it looks like, and okay, here we go. David, you're in another. Okay. Hi. Just want to check in with you. Two major things here. Just share your experience in mentoring or being a mentee or a mentor and come up with top 3 tips. Stephanie is going to be your facilitator, your leader, and I'm going to bounce over to the other room back and forth between the rooms. Any questions about your assignment? All right. Talk with you in a bit.
Sounds good. Well, do we want to start with sharing our own experiences on being a mentor or having exceptional mentors? Anybody wants to go first?
I don't know about exceptional, but I've had the opportunity to help a couple of different conservation districts with financial transition or some of their financial tasks. So I would consider that to be partly coaching and partly mentoring, because I wasn't really helping them with career development or anything like that. It was specific areas that they needed help with. But I think the listening point is very important, because I can't just assume what they know. I have to understand what they know and what they're trying to accomplish. You know, I have a perspective on how we do things, but I need to understand how they do things at their district in order to adapt my advice.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, you know, the different, you know, personalities of somebody, right? What you might explain to one person just goes, you know, like really strikes a chord and they take it and run with it. And there's some other people that you need to kind of reiterate and go through it more often. And I think listening is, you know, taking that feedback of how they're receiving what you're saying and adjusting as necessary. So kind of adapting to different people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I found it very effective to say, I don't care how you do it. It's you and your board that are responsible for what happens, but I will tell you the auditor will care about this.
I will say I am probably not in the position to be a super technical mentor yet. I've been at the district for about 3.5 years, which there's just so much information to take in and learn myself. So, you know, trying to synthesize that. But I remember starting at the district and, you know, having somebody who was just willing to sit down and go over some of the concepts to fill in those gaps was just so important. I think being a technical staff member at a district there's so much information, there's so much so many things to do. So a lot of people are busy and, you know, they feel overwhelmed with mentoring or sharing their experience. And honestly, just somebody who was willing to be there and answer questions was a huge help when I started. So sometimes, you know, we think about those formal mentors or somebody who's there throughout the career, kind of assisting you. And sometimes it's very short term of just, hey, help me get up to speed. And so, you know, just willingness of mentors to be that resource.
Kara, I bet you have had many experiences on both sides of this. Would you share some of those experiences you've had, either as a mentor or mentee?
You know, it's interesting, Ray, when you ask me that, I try to think of the people that have been my mentors, and I never formally asked them to be my mentor. I don't know if they knew that they were my mentor, right? Like, it's people that I have found in my career that have provided such good guidance and have been there to answer my questions, but we've never necessarily talked about you're my mentor and I'm your mentee.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, and maybe I should have, but I felt like it was such an obligation for a mentor to take on, and I didn't know if they had time.
Oh,
Because they were, you know, outside of my organization. They didn't, you know, I just glommed onto them and tried to suck up as much good information as I possibly could. I tried to, you know, find out what books they were reading, find out what trainings they had participated in. You know, if I got some time with them, I would have a set of questions for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that they knew that they were mentoring me, quite honestly. And when I think about being a mentor to my staff in particular, you know, over the course of my 17 years with the Conservation District, I've had almost 50 educators work for me. So,
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I'm their supervisor, I'm their boss, it does take on a different role. But when they leave my program and they go on their journey in their career, they oftentimes call me, and they call me for advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always have the answers for them. I'm trying to think of if I ask them those great questions that you mentioned earlier. You know, a lot of times I just remember telling them to follow their heart and follow, you know, their passion. And I've seen my educators go in so many different directions and so many wonderful careers. And part of me also is struggling with the concept of coaching versus mentoring, because a lot of what I do, I feel like I'm coaching them up, you know, in their career.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I coach them up and I coach them out because it is an entry level position that they have with me. And so I know they're not going to stay with me forever and ever. So it's about learning their goals and learning their dreams and what do they want to be and helping them get there. I have learned that. I have learned to listen intently to where they want to go and know that it's not going to be with me forever. And I need to figure out all the ways that I can support those goals. And sometimes I can't, you know, sometimes they just have to leave and follow their dreams in a different direction. But also through the ag forestry program, when I was leading class 41 through their program, you know, in a way I was a mentor to those students as well. And I know that because they still contact me, I guess. They still call me up and ask me kind of leadership questions and leadership guidance. And so I guess that tells me that they value information that I can give them or I can help them with. So those are my experiences. And it's interesting that you say I could teach this class, but I don't think so. Like I said, I don't know that I've ever had some formal mentors in my life. Just people like you, Ray, that I glom onto, and I just try to suck up as much as I can in an informal way. So perhaps I should try to establish more formal conversations with them so that they understand their role in my life. I'm not sure. What do you think?
You know, the symbiotic relationship, right, where we learn from one another, is in an informal way is very powerful. It's a true form of mentoring, right? But it's just informal. And it, you know, there's been so many people who have had influences in my career, right? That I'm with Kara, right? That I admired them. I like something about the way they carried themselves, the way they did leadership things, the way they did things, right? And so but I would have a couple of questions in my pocket, you know. Oftentimes it would be, what do you think, I should do to become better at, in my case, facilitation, training, that sort of thing. And a good question like that would stimulate the conversation. And then usually it would lead to experiences that they would share, and usually some advice they would share. And I'm looking around just at you guys, right? And I know that I've taken a golden gem from each one of you somewhere along the line, you know, and packed it in with all the rest of the folks that I came in contact with. You know, Valerie, you chewed on me a couple times, you know, during my formal time as a commission staffer, right? But to the betterment of the people that we were serving. You helped me understand that, you know, that we were really screwing up in the commission. And if I can just offer that as kind of one of those personal.
Geez, I don't even remember doing that.
Well, you wouldn't have, right? Because we didn't have a formal conversation about it. I didn't come up to you, but it was lessons that you taught us to become better commission staffers, to make our commission better and more responsive to district needs and things. You know, I'm probably going to tear up here because of Kara. Oh my God, you know, we've shared story back and forth. Rachel, you know, you've helped me so many times when I've done a planning session with your district. Brad, you know, what can I say about Asotin if you're listening, right? I mean, you guys taught me, you know, how to be a good field rep, right? And then some of the questions you brought forward, sometimes they were kind of bitter, right? It's kind of but if you set that aside and actually look at the learning environment and the mentoring that was going on. So you bring up good points. The formalizing of it, you know, where someone actually says, yeah, I'll be your mentor, I'll be your reference, I'll be your whatever, you know, happens sometimes just naturally, you know, in the discussions you have. But yeah, good points. Thanks, Kara. Oh my gosh.
And one thing that Rachel mentioned in the chat is just that personality. If it's really informal, you know, you probably know if you mix with somebody pretty quickly, right? If you are looking for somebody a little bit more formal, it is really making sure that you're, looking for somebody who has a mentoring style that really fits with you, and making sure that you guys are on the same page, because that could, stop the mentoring immediately if things aren't clicking. So keeping personalities in mind, if you're seeking out those formal mentoring experiences, probably is a really good thing to kind of keep in the back of your mind as well.
So a couple of you shared and a couple of you not. So let's hear from somebody that hasn't shared yet. Some experience.
I've been trying to figure out how to really frame this or what to say exactly, but something I have tried to do since I've been in Asotin, I've been training a lot of our staff, and what I've tried to do is give them kind of some boundaries and let them go and figure it out on their own. I'm not sure how that really plays into the tips of being a mentor, but that's kind of the way that I've approached things, is to try to provide them the information they need, but not overdo it to the point where they don't have any ownership of their own work. And that's what I really try to focus on, is making sure that whatever they're working on, they make it their own. Excellent.
They find their way to a path that might be better than the one we had, right?
Yeah.
And
just because I do it that way doesn't mean that it has to be done that way forever.
Good point, Brad. Thank you.
Well, and I think a good mentor will recognize when a person is ready to launch on something, you know, and be able to, well, specifically with financial stuff, when I think they're ready to take over a piece of it, I'll just say, go ahead and do this. There's very little that you can do that can't be fixed. You know, just make sure that when you're dealing with paying people, that's a red flag point where you have to be very careful, because some of that can't be fixed, but how you record it in the books can be. So give it a try it out. Let's see how it looks, you know.
Did you pick up some new tips, Valerie, from some of those that you mentored?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah, there was partly because, like I said, I have to listen to how they do things in their district, and I got some ideas for changing how we did things, and maybe I don't even recall specifics because I just sort of absorbed them along the way. But yes, I do think that a mentor can also receive good gifts out of that relationship.
Yeah, that's been my experience. It's like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Holy moly. Okay. All right. Let's do it that way. Hey, Alan, with the vast amount of experience you had, I bet you've had some experience in mentoring or being mentored over the years.
It's probably being mentored, but I guess the key thing is having the curiosity to ask the questions or the daring to try something, and don't be afraid of criticism, because that's a step forward. It's hard to relate because I am more a learner than a teacher, so to speak. When I did teach a little bit, I would never answer a simple question. I would respond with a question so that they could come up with a result. But one of the things that others may experience it too, in most of the jobs that I have had, the pressure of doing things was so much more than the time allotted for it, that you didn't have a lot of time to do this. And it's more, as Brad was saying, you give people, you start them in the right direction, and hope they start down the path, and then try to direct them as best as possible. But I'm still learning.
Isn't that the truth? Did you have a favorite mentor along the way, Alan? Somebody that you just comes out in your mind?
It's hard to say it was a commensal relationship, but you recall Randy Kinley. What I'm doing now is really carrying on the relationship we developed over 30 years or so, which is to sort of be considerate of natural things.
Thanks, Alan. Hey, Rachel, how about your experience mentoring or being mentored?
Oh, Rachel said that she was having some difficulty answering some questions with audio. I don't know if you want to type it in the chat, Rachel, and I can dictate some of that. I was trying to put in some of her responses to our conversations.
Excellent. Please do. That would be great.
Rachel does say that her favorite mentor was outside of the organization. So recognizing that it's not maybe someone that you're working right next to. Yeah.
And Rachel's point, I think, is well taken, because sometimes the clarity of looking at something outside our world, right? Inside our world, there's value in that, but looking at it from the outside and seeing something that you've not seen, right? And helping you think that through. When NACD went out to look for the communications, right? And they went to several cities and they asked people about the communications. Did they understand this or that or the other piece of communication? And we found, you might say, several mentors that said, no, we don't understand what you're talking about. We don't understand the terms you're using. We don't understand anything. What a sour pill it was for NACD to hear that, for conservation districts to hear that. It was like, oh my God, we've been using things like watershed or this and that and the other, those terms regularly. And the people in the city, they don't know what you're talking about. They don't care. So it was a shocker. So mentoring can come in different frames. Lorenzo, would you share with us some of your experience either as a mentor?
Yeah, I haven't had, can you hear me?
Yes, got you clear. And video too, thanks.
I haven't had much experience as a mentor, mostly as a mentee. And I guess my favorite mentor would probably be during my time in graduate school, my advisor, named professor, mentor, who's kind of everything for me. And he was just a super cool guy. During my undergrad, he was my favorite teacher just because he was very fun. And then he became my advisor and my mentor. and we spent a lot of time together, and you know, a lot related to the classroom and labs and stuff like that. But even outside of that, you know, we'd spend time like at the basketball court, playing basketball, talking about like what's going on in life. And
Yeah.
so it was, I don't know, he was helpful for me related to my academics, but also he was interested in my personal life and willing to help me out there. So I could really talk to him about anything, and I really appreciated that. But as a mentor, I guess I've been with the conservation districts for, I don't know, maybe 2 years, not that long.
Yeah.
And I was at Grace Harbor Conservation District for about 1.5 years. I came into the district to do the voluntary stewardship program during COVID. And so there was nobody else in the office, and I was new to the position, and I had to figure it out. And so basically it was, you know, sink or swim on my own. And then I like kind of met some of the other office staff and got to ask some of them for help. And so, yeah, just every chance I got, I would, you know, get little tidbits of information when I could. And then I figured it out, got it going, got comfortable in it. And then recently I switched to Pacific Conservation District, which means that the Grace Harbor position was vacant. And so somebody filled that position, and I am helping them kind of get up and running. And so I don't consider myself a mentor, but I'm kind of helping them. And yeah, so that's been, I guess I'm learning how to do that. And I just, I don't know, I just show them what it is that I would do, and tell them that they're free to take what they like and change it or adapt it and basically make it their own. And so, yeah, I don't know, that's what I've been doing, and so far so good, I think.
Excellent example. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it again, I think it speaks to the point that you don't have to have a lot of years in order to be able to provide valuable mentoring information, you know, to somebody that's working. So thanks, Lorenzo. So I'm going to suggest that we would use our next 10 minutes, maybe, Stephanie, to come up with the top few recommendations we have in the arena of mentoring from our group.
Yes, and I have been trying to take notes. There have been a lot of good points. I think the big one that I heard was listening, where they are, what they know, where they want to go, being a really important part.
I took from Ray, or sorry, from Alan, when Alan was saying, answer a question with a question. I wrote that one down because that, yeah, I need to remember that instead of trying to be the answer or find the answer or think I have to have the answer, answer the question with a question. That's a great one for me. Thank you, Alan.
I think it's helpful to help them understand what the sideboards are. In other words, what grant rules are you working under? What state laws are you working under? What are what is the framework within you that you have to work? And where do you look for information on those rules? And then what can be adapted as your own?
Excellent. Top tips for effective mentoring.
I really did like the comment about knowing when, you know, your mentor is ready to go out there and you know, find that information and take things into, you know, their own realm. I think that kind of goes with that answer question with a question is once we think that they have all the information, just kind of sitting back and letting them, you know, figure it out and make mistakes. And I think that's knowing when to do that is a really important time.
Yeah, I guess the thing that sticks in my mind, and it relates to the comment I made earlier, is that the things people learn themselves, they remember. The things that they are told, they forget.
Mm. Mhm.
So the mentoring aspect of that is just point the directions where they can learn.
Yeah, yeah. Keep those in front of them, right? Make sure that they see that. Excellent, excellent. You wrote
And
a few
reinforce
things.
confidence in their ability to do it.
Yeah, yeah. You said, Stephanie, you wrote down a few tips also from the group discussion.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through them and seeing just kind of what we talked about. We talked about a lot. I really, Alan, your comments about just having the curiosity and daring to try things. I know that's definitely more of like mentee, but also as a mentor, being confident in your knowledge to try to inspire others and give them the information that they need. So I think those two comments actually go both ways, is having the curiosity and then, yeah, confidence to go out there and try it.
The closeness in working relationships and whatnot is just it's pretty amazing. And the informalness is one of the things I wrote down from what Kara said. Sometimes mentoring happens in informal ways. Yeah, least expected, right? But then it just happens. Yeah. That's some great things. I check in with the other group. I think that I hope that they're ready, but I've typed a few of the things that you've written down here. Are there other tips though, Stephanie, that you wrote down that?
I think that was the bulk of what we've talked about.
Okay, very good. So if you're ready, then should we go back into the large group and see what the other group had said too? And then who will do the reporting for us from our group?
How about Stephanie, since she wrote it all down?
I can definitely do that.
We certainly had a
Because I didn't do that.
yeah. Okay, folks, here we go to the bigger room then. Very good. All right, closing the rooms. We'll be back in the big room here in just a bit. All right, welcome back. We're waiting for the other group to join us here in just a bit. Another 29 or seconds or so, it says, and we'll all be back together again. Welcome back, folks. We got a few more that are joining us. And we're anxious to learn about the recommendations that you've got for good mentoring. And do a visual check to make sure that we've got the notes up here from our breakouts. So let's start with the group that had Stephanie facilitating it, if we could. I think we've got, let me make sure we've got everybody back in. Yeah, it looks like we do. And David, I saw that you and Jan were with the other group. We have a volunteer to go first. Who will go first? What did you talk about, and what were your top mentoring tips that you came up with?
I don't mind going first, Ray.
Okay, please do.
One that we talked about was listening, and listening to a lot of different things, kind of where they are and what they know, what they care about and what their goals are. And then also getting down to kind of those personal interests, and being on a more personal level as well.
Mhm. Excellent.
That was one.
Okay.
And then the other one that we talked about a lot was answering a question with a question. And really, I guess the kind of broad answer to that is allowing your mentor to find the answer, to inspire thoughts on the topic so that they feel like they are in power with the project or task that they're working on. And kind of, yeah, where to find that information, so that they're able to boost their confidence and know that they're capable of doing that work as well.
Ellen had kind of an interesting quotable quote there, didn't they? Stephanie, I don't know whether we caught that or not, but that was interesting.
He mentioned he had some good singers that whole time, but one that I really liked was having the curiosity and daring to try things. And I think he mentioned that kind of in the mentor sense, but even as a mentor, feeling empowered to share your knowledge and your experience with others as well. So kind of going both ways.
Also noted there was what, maybe Alan will help us out with this. What the mentee learns. No,
They remember.
what was that?
What the mentee learns, they remember.
Yeah.
They're told, they forget.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wrote that down. That was another good one, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's and again, that's building on that basic principle of mentoring, right? Mentoring well, rather than just telling, opportunities for learning. Stephanie, you mentioned that. Other thoughts, Stephanie?
The only other part that I have down here is kind of, we want to provide them with enough information, where to find things, helping them out along their journey, but really knowing kind of when that mentor is really ready to fly and soar in their own task, and helping them get to that level of confidence as well, and empowering them. So, being that support and information when they need it, and getting them answers, but then also kind of taking a step back and letting them kind of create their own processes.
Good. How about Lorenzo's thought? I was impressed with some of what Lorenzo told us as an employee, and then a mentor, right? Even after just a couple of years.
Yes, and I don't know, Lorenzo, if you want to speak to it. I don't want to misquote any of the things that you said, but just talking about how, coming in, learning things, and then switching roles, and realizing that you are the person that's providing that information even after maybe a year or year and a half.
Yeah, real quick, I can just kind of speak to that. I had mentioned that I started working at one CD during COVID and had to figure out the job, and got it going and got comfortable with it. And then after about a year and a half, I switched to another district and doing the same job, but that left my previous position open. So the new person that took over that position, I've been helping them. And I said I don't consider myself a mentor, but I just kind of help walk them through everything and show them what I would do, and then tell them, you know, they can keep what they like and throw out what they don't like, make it their own, whatever works for them. And then, yeah, I just kind of help answer any questions and help out where I can. But I guess the point from that is that even though I haven't had years and years of experience, I'm still able to help somewhat.
Thank you so much for speaking to that.
Yeah, excellent point. All right. Anything else from Group A? Top mentoring tips.
Those are the things that I had written down. So if anybody wants to jump in from Group A, please feel free to.
All right, let's turn it over to David and Jan regarding Group B. What you discussed, what you learned, top tips.
Oh, no, we had an executive decision that Renee took charge of the whole group. So.
Oh, perfect. That's great. So Renee,
Sorry,
Joy of being
Renee.
bossy.
I didn't mean to throw you under the bus there.
No worries. I took notes and summarized. So the first one would be empathy.
got it.
And specifically to be a champion for the mentee, to sort of boost their confidence and their abilities, because empathy truly means that you're feeling for them and that it's not about you as a mentor. This is really about how can you lift them up.
Excellent. I trust this is showing up on the screen. I'm typing my little
Yes,
card
it
out
is.
here. Okay, good. Yeah, every once in a while, you kind of wonder.
Which is why I tried to pause so your typing could catch up.
Thanks, Renee. Appreciate it. All right, good.
The next
recommendation.
one is regarding let them evolve and contribute. And so that has very many facets, just similar to what Stephanie's group provided, just knowing when to provide research and information so they can figure it out, knowing when the relationship has evolved to pass that on. Just giving them an opportunity to shine through that sort of evolution of sorts.
Okay. Okay. Evolved and moved on, right? Good.
And
Next.
the last one is kind of tricky. It's trying not to project your own path or your own next steps onto them. Because as mentees, mentors, we have like an ability to sort of go from our own experience, but it's important that we give opportunity and room for them to explore their own, that we're not projecting it onto them, if that makes sense. And at this time, if there are others from my group that would like to contribute or fill in a gap that I may have omitted, now is the time.
I forget what David Rose said, but it was kind of a quick quote that if you're the mentor and you're asking all the questions, something's wrong or you're not doing it right. Mentees should be asking you questions. So I think just I'll round that up with openness and leave it at that. Yeah.
Knowing when something's one-sided. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and part of that, Ray, too, is simply understanding the roles that each individual plays. The role of the mentor, the role of the protege or mentee, whichever word you want to use, and that if you're running into some problems there where it seems all one-sided, then you might need to step back and reevaluate.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Did You have some interesting stories in your group too, as you went along, about experiences? Any of those that just kind of came to mind? Oh, very good. I think, you know, this is some excellent tips. Listening to what the mentee knows, personal interest, answering a question with a question, allow the mentor to find an answer and be empathetic on the task that they are working on, having curiosity and daring to try things, and what the mentee learns, they remember, what they are told, they forget, provide the mentee with enough information and know when they are willing to soar. And when the mentor steps out of that picture, and mentors may have valuable information to share only after even just 1.5 years of working, right? And helping to mentor a new person into even the job that they left. Excellent. Empathy and specifically be a champion for the mentee, boost confidence and the abilities to assist. Let the mentee evolve and contribute. Know when to provide research and information. Know when the mentoring has evolved and move on. Try not to project your path or direction to the mentee. Give opportunity and room for them to advance. And if you are the mentor and asking all the questions, something is not right. I thought that's very interesting. Should not be one way, right? And then know the role of the mentor and the mentee should not be one-sided. Excellent. Excellent. Rachel, you offered one here, great tip to try not to just project yourself, your journey on the mentee, partly because, and let's examine that, what Rachel told us here. Yeah, partly because it's highly likely the person might experience future challenges that you never saw or anticipated. And Rachel, you bring up a good point. And the other part of that too is that life changes. Oh my gosh. You know, when I come back to talk with some of you after 2 years of being retired, it's like, oh my gosh, really? That's what's happening now? You know, you have new people that are moved into positions. You have new programs. You have, did I understand this right? You even have new money coming into their districts that we didn't have before. Holy moly. You know, and I was just sharing story with one of my mentees, right? And they were just talking about how incredible changes have occurred, you know, just in the last 2 years. So good on us, right? Okay. So let me go back then. Let's go back to the program. I'll stop sharing here and I'll restart up the program and the PowerPoint slides. But while I'm doing that, anybody want to share anything about that experience you had in their small group that just kind of caught you in the arena of mentoring? Anybody at all? Just go ahead and unmute and tell us what it is that you witnessed there. Anybody at all? Okay. Got to move some slides around here to make sure I can get you up and running. All right, there we go. We appreciate those tips. Outstanding. We're going to turn our attention to mentoring resources and opportunities now for a bit. And we have that opportunity. David's been involved in discussing things with you in our small group. And now we get to turn the program over to David, who will talk with us a bit about those opportunities, those resources and opportunities that exist within the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And we know how important it is to, and in particular, our technical folks, that we want to be able to learn about these opportunities. Also, David is our new mentoring lead for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So without further ado, David, let's see if our magic is going to work here and you can control my machine. Tap on the screen, maybe move up and down with your arrow keys. Is any of that working? Let me try it again, make sure. Oh, you got it. Nope. Hang on. Go ahead, David. And we'll. Okay.
There you go. I had to figure out how to unmute myself.
Ah, yeah, very good.
That's a pretty sad state of affairs, I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
All right. Are we on the first one there, Ray?
I think so. Yep. Mentoring in the Washington.
How
Interns.
about that? Okay. So actually, I was the mentor coordinator for the state here just a few years back and stepped away from it in 2018, and now I'm back in the saddle again. So I don't think it was a voluntold thing. I raised my hand when Raylene asked, so there we go. And the reason for that is that mentoring is a very near and dear to my heart. It's very important. I think it's something that is absolutely essential as we move forward for the development of NRCS in particular, but also the partner folks that work with us. So anyway, let's see if my down arrow worked. Well, maybe that didn't work. Let me click on it. There we go. So some talking points. Our formal program for NRCS is under an umbrella of USDA as a whole, and was developed in 2009 with these 4 objectives: to transfer our institutional knowledge. And some of these you guys have actually hit on similarly when we were talking about this before. Increase employee retention. There's been plenty of research that shows that a mentor program helps new employees to understand their place in the grand scheme of things, and it helps them feel more involved and part of it. So that improves our employee retention. Helps us to attract top talent. Big part of that is mentor programs have been cited as a benefit that people, when they're looking at potential careers, as a positive, that they like to organizations that have mentoring programs are viewed very positively. So that's an important aspect there. The 4th bullet there: enhance employee skills. So and that's one of the big things that we were talking about as a group is essentially getting better at what you do. So it's a cost-effective mentor to help with employee development opportunities. I know that was reading off of that line, but I couldn't say it better myself. So anyway, there are also a multitude of benefits for the agency, but also the protege. And we're using the word protege instead of mentee. It means the same thing. So stick with me there. And the mentor. So we'll go to the next one. Hello. I should probably click the button a little. There we go. So what is a mentor? So at the risk of boring you to death, I'm going to read this because I think it says it very well. A mentor is an experienced employee, and why that has a comma there, I don't know, with a specific skill or knowledge in an area that aligns with a protege's developmental need or interest. So it's a voluntary basis. Oh, sure, of course. Let me see if I can get back there. Boy, it's a little slow, Ray. I hit the up arrow, but I don't think my arrow keys are working. There we go. I think I can probably control it down below. I see something vaguely there. Okay. So it's the whole point is that a mentor supports that protege for their professional development. So then along with that, the next question is, what is a protege or a mentee? They are essentially the same thing. It's just a matter of, there we go. So protege, simply someone who wants to enhance their professional experience. They want to learn new skills, have an opportunity to participate in new opportunities. And a key ingredient, and you guys have hit on some of this stuff, is their ability to enhance their professional experiences. They need to be receptive to change and open up to new ways of thinking. They have to be open to getting the feedback and taking that, not just keep open to the feedback, but taking that feedback and using it, figuring out how it can improve on their skill set. So one of the benefits of being a mentor, and I think we've hit on some of these things, you know, more experienced employees. It gives being a mentor, sharing your technical and organizational knowledge. Believe it or not, that organizational knowledge is mighty valuable. But it also allows that mentor to get a fresh perspective of somebody viewing the technical and the organizational aspect from a different perspective. It allows a mentor to demonstrate some leadership skills. Get to use those interpersonal skills that you're building on, and we're building on today, even with all this stuff, to teach, advise, coach others. And you're giving back to the organization you work for providing support you needed. So it's kind of it's a building process for the organization and for all the employees within it, as a mentor and ultimately as a protege too. So I click on that. Click on. Let's try that again. So the roles and responsibilities. So a mentor should be sharing their expertise. And we talked about some of these, offering encouragement and being a motivator, which is an important aspect too. Offering up some challenging ideas. I think that's a very good thing to be trying to do as a mentor, and helping to trigger that self-awareness. We all need to, I think I would suggest that we all can find improvement on being aware of our own capabilities and shortcomings, blah, 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 things we can work on. So that's what a mentor should help with that. And support that protege in acquiring those new skills that you talked about, some of those competencies, being their champion. I've heard that stated a couple of times. Providing effective feedback. That is a very, very critical part of the mentor's role, is providing that feedback. Hey, look at that. I'm starting to get this figured out, right? So the don'ts, and I generally don't like don'ts. I know, sorry. But so a mentor should not drive a relationship. We've kind of pointed that out. A mentor should not seek out a protege. You're not looking to find someone to be under your wing. Come on, they're supposed to find you. You do not work for the protege. Keep that in mind too. This is their process. They need to drive that. They need to do the work that's necessary in this. As a mentor, you're there to support them. And it's not your job to manage the protege or the role of the supervisor. We talked about that a little bit. That's a tricky place to be, being a supervisor and expecting to be a mentor. This is a good spot. We talked about this in kind of the pre-conversation, is the difference between mentoring and coaching. A supervisor is in the perfect position to be a coach, coaching them to get better on things. A mentor is someone, while it can be the supervisor, that's much less common, because a mentor is looking at a broader picture of that individual, their capabilities. A mentor, you believe it or not, you're going to have to take into account some of their personal situation on what they pursue and what you discuss as possible opportunities and learning opportunities in their career. Perhaps someone is willing to move anywhere. Well, that opens up potentials. If someone is not very mobile, that is a different set of circumstances that you need to work within. And a supervisor, for instance, is only necessarily going to be, by necessity, they're going to be looking at, how can I get this individual to be fully functional in the job and do the best they can in their job. Yes, it's a good boss is going to look beyond that, about their professional growth and their career potential, promotions, seeking other things. Yes, that doesn't always happen. So there's a difference between a mentor and a supervisor, which is why we recommend that a mentor not be the supervisor. So the protege, think about the roles of the protege. So very first one, I've kind of mentioned this already. It's their job. Take responsibility for their personal growth and development. This is their road. The mentor is there to help them, but the protege is driving the bus here. They need to commit to that relationship. Our group had put out there, if the mentor's having to do too much work to try to set up discussions, that kind of stuff, that means the protege hasn't got the full commitment here. So that's an important aspect for protege. The protege needs to develop a vision. What do they want to get out of this relationship? They have to have some kind of an idea. Just to, oh, well, it'd be great to visit. Well, why? You need to figure that out. That's part of it. So they need to work with a mentor, developing a mentoring plan. What are we going to try to accomplish? You can write it all down. It could be simple, like a couple of bullet points. We want to try to do this and try to do that. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Seeking challenging excitements and new responsibilities. Now, a mentor can suggest things, but really it's the protege's responsibility to seek those things out, to help with their growth, both career-wise, a particular technical aspect, that type of thing. That's their responsibility. You need to maintain that willingness to learn. You got to be willing to learn. And I mentioned to my group, the day I think that I've got it all figured out is the day I better retire, because I'm always learning. I'm learning now, and always learning. You need to listen and be receptive to the feedback and suggestions. I know I'm reading these, so forgive me, but this is an important aspect too, is that you have to remember, don't take things personal. So if you're a protege and a mentor brings up something that's a little uncomfortable, you're not very good at this, it's pretty easy to get your feelings hurt, get feelings bruised, shut down. I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. I would submit that's the wrong way to go about it, because if you've got the right relationship with your mentor as a protege, they're giving you the feedback trying to help you get better. So you need to take that and use it. Ray had a really good example of, might have been a little gruff about how he presented it, but it was a very constructive and helped Ray for a long time. Maintaining a positive attitude. That's a very valuable aspect, and the protege should be doing. And you gotta ask questions. So here's some don'ts. Whoa. There we go. So,
David, if I might, there was an aha moment. Kara, would you share your aha moment? Kind of based on what we've been talking about and David's presentation. We'll give him a chance to grab a sip of coffee. What was your aha moment?
So as you were kind of explaining that difference between coaching and mentoring, I think in our breakout session, I was really stuck with understanding the difference in those two roles. And so it kind of hit me as you were talking about those do's and don'ts for mentors. But when my employees work for me, I'm coaching them. And they leave me, but they continue to come back to me and ask for my advice, my guidance, all of those. There's no supervisor subordinate relationship anymore. But when they seek out my professional advice, and that I feel like they're using me in the capacity of a mentor.
Yep.
That was my aha. Thank you.
Yeah.
So like Lorenzo's topic, after being just with a district for 1.5 years, right? And then at 2 years, he's coaching, the person that came into his position. And then Lorenzo, I guess I'd offer to you, if that relationship just keeps building, and as Kara pointed out, and David pointed out, if that keeps building and you retain that kind of lifelong almost, right? Discussion back and forth, you'll know that you switch from coaching, and a role of leaving a position and kind of coaching to mentoring, right? And doing that. So Lorenzo, what are your thoughts on that as we're talking about that stuff?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it'll definitely take some time to get there, just because, like I've said, I've only been in the position for such a short time that there's still things that even I'm learning. And
Right.
I'm sure, you know, with everybody, you are always learning. So, yeah, I feel like, yeah, coaching is going to go on for a while. And then, yeah, just because I'm continuing to learn, and as I learn, I will help her
Mhm.
by sharing what I've learned and helping her avoid the speed bumps that I run into before she runs into them. And then, yeah, I mean, we're developing that mentor relationship rather than coaching. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. Collecting experiences like a big vacuum cleaner, right? Experience, knowledge and skills and whatnot. And then I don't know what you do with the vacuum cleaner. I guess you share it, right? So,
Yeah, we're gonna open up the bag and spread it all
share
around.
it. You want
Right?
to share it. Anyway, back to you, David. Sorry for the interruption.
Well, and I got a
Yeah.
couple examples there too. Ray mentioned a mentor of his from many years ago, Dusty Eddy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Dusty was a mentor for Ray. He was a coach and a supervisor for me. He was my first boss with NRCS. Actually, SCS. I go back that far. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, 32 years will do that for you. Anyway, but Dusty was he coached me. He got me going down the path, and frankly, it was a really good start. And then the other guy that Ray mentioned was Lynn Brooks, and he was my area conservationist in California, Northern California, and he was possibly the best boss I've ever had. And he would very routinely, you know, if you had an issue and you visited with him, he would routinely start out, well, I would coach you to think about this or to think about this.
Yeah.
That was very common for Lynn. He wouldn't give you the answer, but what he would do is he would coach you to figure out the answer on your own. That right there is an excellent example of the coaching in action. Yeah, he was my supervisor. I don't count him as a mentor, although he actually was that too, never sort of formal. He was one of those people who could bridge that gap and do both things. So he was really good. Anyway, I had to jump on the Lynn thing, Ray. I couldn't help. So don'ts of being a protege. As a protege, you don't work for the mentor. Remember, we keep talking about that it shouldn't be your boss that's your mentor. In a really, really unusual circumstance, it can work, but I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. And don't be seeking advancement. Yes, we all think about that kind of stuff. I mean, that's going to be part of the career thing, but that should not be the basis of a mentor protege relationship. Is you're seeking advancement. I want to move up. Well, maybe you do, but that shouldn't be the basis of this type of a relationship. You're trying to grow, get better, learn. That may end up resulting in some career advancement, but that shouldn't be a core aspect of why you're even having this relationship in the first place. And the other one is don't be closed-minded. I mean, you talk about that. You have to have an open mind. You have to take that feedback you get, constructive criticism, and use it to make yourself better. So, let's see if I can get down in here. Hello. There we go. There. All right, so some talking points. Now, our program, now I should make mention here, we have a formal program, which is a little bit of what I'm talking about here. But I will also throw out that informal mentoring arrangements they're all over the place. And I encourage them. As a matter of fact, I will even throw out there that if anyone is interested in that type of thing, I'm more than willing to potentially be a mentor for anybody who would like one. That doesn't mean it's required, but just to throw that out there. I sort of feel like if you've been around a while, you ought to be willing to help the next group of folks that are going to run this conservation enterprise after we move on. We need to help them get you better and better and better. So that's my commitment there. So back to this. So participation in our formal program with supervisor approval, which for most programs is going to need the supervisor approval. So a mentor's required, but we have it set up for if you're a new supervisor, you have to have a mentor. That's part of the program, part and parcel of working for the outfit. A new supervisor needs to have a mentor, at least for a year. And that's for people who've never supervised before. Pathways interns, those are our folks. We used to call them SCEPs years ago. They're called Pathways interns, and the Pathways recent graduates, those folks have to have a mentor. And so we set them up for that. Presidential management fellows, we generally don't have them, at least on our level. That's usually Washington, DC. And the same thing for senior executive service candidate development program. That's for people that are way over my pay grade, which thankfully I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So it's also, mentoring is also appropriate for folks who have transferred from a different location or organizational unit. Let's say they came to Washington from Iowa. They could benefit for some mentoring on how we do things here. Because the way we do things here is not going to be the same as Iowa or California or Florida. So there's some value in that, in those kinds of mentor-protege relationships. So any employee seeking additional skills, or they've got themselves some new roles that they're, maybe they got a collateral duty that was added on, like being a mentor coordinator, for instance. Those folks could benefit from a mentoring arrangement. And then this next bullet, employee seeking to change the direction in their career. That is a perfect opportunity for someone to get some mentoring from someone that is maybe closer to what they're thinking they might like to try out. And they can learn about that kind of stuff. That sort of an arrangement can help a lot. So the mentoring coordinators, they manage the program at the local level. Me, for the state of Washington, only because Roylene says I can. We have a mentor portal, and that's it right there. So you can either contact me, or you can go straight to the mentoring portal, that kind of thing. For those that are in our CS, they would go to that portal and they can sign up, and the supervisor would get a notification to go in and approve that mentor arrangement. I also want to mention that we had not announced our mentor program in Washington for this year. I had been told months ago that we were going to try to partner with Idaho and Wyoming for a multi-state mentoring program, which I thought sounded awesome, except that I got radio silence when I contacted the folks I was supposed to from Idaho and Wyoming, and it's kind of gone on longer than I want. So what we're going to do is announce our own, and hopefully next year we can develop a multi-state type of a thing. I think there's some value in that. It would be kind of fun to see what we can do there. So there's also some training in AgLearn. There's one specifically USDA mentoring program. There's NRCS mentor and the Protege training. And there's a whole bunch of other trainings, and I'm not sure if the non-NRCS folks can access the Skillsoft and the LinkedIn trainings in AgLearn, but if you can, there are some really good ones. So just to point those out.
And Jan, you might know, in the work that you've done, CTD, right? Jan and Stephanie and others, you'll know those.
Yeah, I believe some of them are available, not all of them, but there are some in there for sure. So
Okay.
It's worth checking out.
Yeah, it's worth looking at. So there you go. There's my contact information. If you've never heard of me before. I'm still getting used to this, Ray, calling myself the area conservationist. I started in the job over here in Olympia at the end of August last year. but 32 years with the agency, so I've been around a little while. And anybody can reach out to me if you got any questions on any of this stuff. I'm available. And then, as I mentioned in our small group, I will be at Wade. So if anybody wants to visit while I'm there, just pull me aside and we'll visit.
Our strongest, thanks, David, so much for that presentation. Our strongest mentoring efforts will include the entire partnership. It will include the conservation districts to conservation districts that we've mentioned. It'll include conservation districts with NRCS, NRCS the opposite ways. I've been told by, and the commission and commission staff, we've been giving some examples, right, of how that crosswalks back and forth. And sometimes the clear thoughts and clear knowledge of someone, to help with an idea, with a concept, with a new program, with something that is going well or something that's not going so well. And
right.
in kind of a odd way, that's mentoring, right? And
Yep.
It may only be just for a few minutes, right? Or for long enough to solve an issue or something like that. But we learn from one another. So openness, wow, just an incredible openness to listen and hear ideas and even hear the criticism. I think it took me 30 some odd years to be okay with the criticism coming at me. And then I'd go around, maybe kick a couple rocks in the parking lot and then come back and be able to receive it in the manner that was being offered, right?
Yeah.
You guys got to do this. Oh.
I also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there is a new mentoring initiative that was started with our previous chief.
Yeah.
I think it's still trying to get some legs, but it's called the Conservation Agricultural Mentoring Program. The idea there was to match up our new employees with willing local landowners,
right,
to mentor them on ag in their area.
Right. Right.
I don't know if it applies for partners, but Ray, I think we should look into it.
I think so
that could work well.
Yeah, our new employees that are coming into our conservation districts that are maybe coming from a different area or different region of the state or a different whatever. The most embarrassing things is to call a farm implement by its wrong name, right, in front of a land. Yeah. And your credibility just sinks, right? So being able to just start out in those first few days and have a conversation about what this looks like with a willing landowner, right, to kind of walk you through that. And there are a lot of those willing landowners out there willing to take a new person under wing and make sure that they got the terminology right, the idea about what practices and what crops are grown and what practices are done in that particular area. Congratulations to NRCS for doing that. There is a person that's on the line now, and let's make sure, Stephanie, you all set, ready to go?
I think so.
So this would be our Center for Technical Development presentation on the resources for mentors and a brief introduction of that informal and formal mentoring opportunities, because we have that coaching opportunities, we have the opportunities for personal advancement, and then you have the opportunities where you're actually going to technically certify somebody to be able to do a job, or be able to take on, an entire practice, or be able to do conservation planning. And these are important things because you're kind of making that subtle shift. If you're that technical advisor, looking over a conservation plan being done by someone that's trying to get those certifications, right? That's a different animal, but it's still in a sense, mentoring and oversight, things like that. So let's talk about those. Stephanie, if you're ready, and take control of the machine here and fire away.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can get this working seamlessly here. Hey, there we go. So just like Ray said, we want to talk about some of these opportunities and resources that we have through CTD. And I kind of just wanted to pull it back to the mentoring program goals. This is something that's been kind of really important to CTD over the past few years. There's been a few other mentoring webinars in the past few years, and we're having conversations of really how we can make meet these goals. And of course, you know, it's building a network statewide that we can kind of connect people with others. And this would be probably really helpful for those of you who may be supervisors and are even looking for somebody to suggest to your mentees to kind of reach out to. And really just being an overall resource for both mentors and mentees to support this effective mentoring. So I'm fairly new in this role, assisting with the program, but we've been kind of talking about where we want to see this go in the next few years, or, you know, things to put together. And I think the overall goal would be to have an active list of available mentors in specific regions of the state or specific topics of areas, something that CTD could publish or put on the website so that people can kind of go to that list and seek out those mentors. And of course, keeping it active, because we do have some turnover and people moving throughout districts and into other agencies. And then of course, you know, with supporting mentors and mentees, maybe having an informal webinar or forum or periodic discussions to talk with mentors. It's really great to hear from all of you today. I personally tend to find myself second guessing myself as a mentor or a supervisor, and you know, any ways that we can build each other up as mentors, I think would be really helpful. And if CTD is able to kind of provide that support and provide those conversations, I think that would be a really great thing to have. And then, of course, you know, using our website to distribute those resources so that everyone has access to them. They're really easy to find and use, and kind of help answer those questions between, you know, some of these more informal conversations that we'd like to have. So I just want to highlight on some opportunities that we do have through CTD. The first one that I want to highlight is the networking forums. And these were created, they range different topics. They meet various times of year over Zoom. These were created to facilitate conversations in very specific areas and topics. They weren't necessarily meant to be falling into maybe this mentoring task, but I think they lend really well to more of those informal conversations and informal opportunities. On some of these, registration is required for a few of the forums, so just keep that in mind. And then we do have the ability to have listservs to communicate between participants between those forum times that they meet. And so I just wanted to kind of show you, when you go to the website, this is kind of what our page looks like. It has a giant list of all of the topics. You can see a lot of these are technical topics, but we do have one on the plant sale and our Smart Sheet networking forum. When you go ahead and hit one of these drop down arrows, it gives you a little bit more information of this forum. And this is some really important information because it'll show you where the link is to join the meeting, what times and days they meet throughout the year. It also has typically the person who facilitates these forums, in case you have questions or comments, to send to them. And then a lot of them also have a link for you to add topics that you're interested in. And if you are a current mentor or somebody who knows a lot about any one of these topics, I would suggest submitting this form or reaching out to the facilitator as a way to see if there's a topic that you could speak to at these forums. I know they're always looking for more content and information to share. And if you are still learning in these topics as well and you have questions, please submit them through the website, because that's just super helpful for connecting people. And if you have a question, I'm sure many others have that question too. So again, I think this is kind of lending to those informal connections that you can make, especially in a specific topic or area. And maybe you meet someone across the state in one of these forums, and it turns into somebody that you can ask questions or somebody who's asking you questions. So if you haven't had a chance to participate in any of these forums, I suggest you go check them out. They're really informational and really helpful. One of the forums that I want to kind of point out is the Building Better forum. This one is specifically focused to discuss topics that are relevant to district leaders and district managers. It's definitely open to anybody who might be interested in learning more about those processes, but they have been, previously they were meeting once a month, and they had a specific topic kind of scheduled for every month, and they really dove very deep into those topics. And so this is a really well-organized network forum for those looking for more leadership and management kind of direction. I do want to just point out that they have been kind of having these every month. They are kind of taken a little step back, and they have a few sessions planned, I believe, for Wade, and then they will be meeting again in September and November of this year. So they are just working on building those topics to discuss at these meetings, and so they're not meeting every month for kind of the remainder of the year. So just take a note of that if you have been participating in this forum, and if not, this really lends well to kind of that leadership and management, those types of conversations. And then I just want to highlight on some opportunities for more of a formal mentoring opportunity. And these are all for kind of technical trainings. We do have a few trainings that are offered that require participants to have a formal mentor. And I've listed them here. It's the Conservation Planning Part 2, the Nutrient Management Planner, and the Comprehensive Nutrient Management Planner. And these do require participants to fill out a formal mentor agreement with whoever they identify as their mentor. And that really is so that they can kind of walk through this whole process together of going from meeting the landowners to going through tools needed to put the plan together, and then kind of assembling everything. And so they are very specific courses, and so mentors do need to meet specific requirements. That includes some planning experience. The planning experience really depends on how many years of experience. If you are going towards a NRCS planner designation certification, it might require you to hold a specific level. And then, of course, the expectation is that the mentor has participated in that training course previously. And that kind of lends back to what Ray was mentioning of making sure that your mentor has the correct knowledge and experience needed in order to provide assistance. Again, because they're very specific to a topic and training, we do want to make sure that we're setting up participants with mentors who kind of know what to expect from that course. So coming down the line, we do have an upcoming training. We are trying to plan the Conservation Planning Part 2 course sometime this fall. And we are trying to come up with a very kind of short, informal list for potential or of potential mentors, because it seems that every time we offer these courses that require a mentor, we do have participants that reach out and just, ask if we have any suggestions, if we know anybody who would be able or willing to help us with that. So if you're sitting here today and you're like, ooh, that sounds like something I'd like to help out with, please reach out to the general CTD email, which is that info@wactd.org. Or if you supervise somebody who you think would be a really good fit for this, please reach out and let us know. Again, I think for this opportunity that's coming up, we would just like to provide participants with a few suggestions if they're looking for a mentor. A lot of participants do come to these trainings already knowing somebody that they could ask for help and for them to be their mentor. But we do want to make sure that everybody has somebody so they can get the full participation of this course. And then just to talk about some resources, this is the mentoring webpage on our CTD website. It is still kind of under construction, and we're going to continue to be adding to this. You'll see we'll be posting this recording and the notes from today's webinar. And then there's also some links out to other partner resources. So keep an eye out for this webpage in the next few months, because we are going to be building this up as a resource. And some of the items that we are currently trying to work on developing, one of them is kind of a mentoring job description. And we are thinking mostly for those technical trainings, but even just general quote unquote job description that would really highlight the expectations of a mentor, maybe skills and knowledge that you might have if you are thinking about getting into mentoring, and then a time commitment, again, just so that you know what to expect. We've talked about putting together some task lists that you could use to provide to a mentee so that they know kind of where to start in their conservation planning career. I know when I started, I was very overwhelmed with the amount of information and things that I needed to learn and pick up quickly. And so just having a list of things that you could ask a mentor to help you with might be really beneficial. Again, partner and training resources, links to those. And then eventually hoping to have some sort of list of local mentors or experts in certain fields that we're able to publish to our website as well. So stay tuned. There is a lot of great resources that we are working on providing. If after this course you're like, oh, I would love to see some sort of resource about this or some assistance with this as a mentor, please reach out and let us know. We are definitely hoping to make this really beneficial to all of you and all the mentors out there. So we are definitely open for suggestions on resources and things that you need to be an effective mentor. And then I'm just going to take a quick brief moment here to highlight on certification. And I am not going to do this justice, but I just want to kind of point this out. CTD has a ton of resources and provides a ton of formal trainings in order to get certified. Obviously, we have the NRCS certified planners, which is kind of that gold standard first step of planning. And there are multiple levels of this depending on where you are in your career and what type of technical tasks that you're completing. CTD has also developed additional certifications that lend really well with the NRCS certified planner courses and levels. So on top of what NRCS provides, CTD also has a riparian, farm, and dairy planner certification. These are all items that if you are going through the NRCS certification and you feel like you need more information on a specific topic, these certifications will kind of get you one step in that direction or further into those topics. So again, please check out our website. and reach out if you have questions of how to become certified. There's so much information on our website. And then just a little bit of a plug here, not quite maybe a mentoring opportunity, but CTD is always looking for individuals to help with technical aspects of these certifications and trainings. Maybe you are an expert in a field and can help answer questions, can help present at some of these trainings, or even review some of the plans that we're requiring as part of the certification. So if you are a technical planner and would like to help out or know anybody, again, please reach out. CTD is always looking for help with our technical aspects. And I'm going to just end on that. If you're interested in learning more, again, please reach out. All of this information, again, will be in our notes and this recording, so you know where to find all of us. Yeah, that is most all of what I have planned for our opportunities and resources through CTD.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Outstanding presentation. And I was not aware of all of these tools that CTD has put together, especially in the area of the coaching and certification. You know, and I think it builds on the point that we've made earlier, which is that you may have more than one mentor. It would be incredible that you had one mentor that would serve all of these needs of someone that, you know, working their way through their conservation career journey, right? So you may have someone that works with you on a certification that Stephanie mentioned, right? And walks you all the way through that and gets you certified with that particular skill set, and then they're done, right? Or they may stay with you. You know, we've had examples of where someone has left a job and they went back to help the new person, you know, get established and get working, and then that relationship may stop or it may continue. Mentoring is kind of interesting. And then some of you mentioned that informal mentoring. You know, the person that you were talking with didn't even know they were mentoring you, except that you were harvesting that information from them, that experience, that knowledge, where to go, and the opportunity to be able to do that. So the very informal type of mentoring too occurs, and you may be the recipient of all of those sort of things. We appreciate that that rundown on the Center for Technical Development, training and certification pieces in our CS. David, we're very, very appreciative of the resources that you presented and know about, and what we're doing with our partner agency. Our conservation to conservation district kind of mentoring that goes on, that Val mentioned, and some of the other folks have mentioned, you know, is very, very important. Our strength of our ability to be able to communicate back and forth between our conservation districts and with the commission on things, and being able to do that and harvest those ideas and expertise and whatnot. And we haven't even touched the surface if it comes to all of the other agencies that we could actually have a mentor or someone that was very, very skilled in a particular area. The Department of Ecology, Department of Fish and Wildlife, you know, the various other organizations, Agriculture, Department of Agriculture, and some other folks at Extension. Oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about Extension today. And you talk about all those other agencies that could have someone there that really could help you along the line of your conservation career journey. So we're gonna have each of the opportunity for you each to speak here in just a bit. So I just wanted to warn you, be ready. I've got a couple questions for you that you're going to address here coming out of this webinar today. But first, the encouragement. Continue to take advantage of these other trainings that are available in the mentoring area and so forth. The on-the-job training with employees and cooperators is a mentoring skill and role in and of itself. The being able to work with other employees or with their cooperators, with land managers and whatnot, are going to teach you a lot. And you might find that some of those land managers and cooperators are actually giving you mentoring help, right, along the way, because they're able to see through some of the things that we need to do in our programs and our offerings of services. AgLearn, Center for Technical Development, other agency trainings, take advantage of that. And here, as you've heard me talk about this a lot, there should not be a conservation district employee in our state, and even the supervisor in our state on the board, that shouldn't have a training plan. Every one of us should have a training plan of some kind, whether you're on the board as a supervisor, whether you're an accountant, whether you're an administrator, a district manager, a district technical person. All should have a training plan and be working that training plan, work the plan, have completed things that are done, have the things that are, in the offering. For folks like Stephanie and CTD, Jan, and others in the CTD leadership roles, they need to know your ideas about what the next, training that you need is, right, for your training plan. And mentors can help a lot with that formation of that conservation, or excuse me, the formation of your training plan. That's the reason why I'm pointing it out here. Okay. Looking at the board here to see if there are any other questions in discussion, and go ahead and enter that into the chat if you've got a question or a discussion. But I've got 3 questions for you, and I'm gonna call on each of you to unmute and to talk with us about these 3 questions. I want you to talk about why this course was important to me personally. It could be a mentee or it could be a mentor. What I will do to be the best mentor or protege ever coming out of this session, and I can't wait to do this. Okay, leaving those 3 questions up on the screen and going through my handwritten list here. You probably saw me looking away. I was writing your names down here so I could call on you. So David Marcel. David, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, David. So good to hear your voice, my friend. So happy you joined us today, and I just want your response to those 3 questions.
Oh gosh, you're gonna have to prompt me on the first one again there.
Sure. Why this course was important to me, why the webinar was important to me was the first one.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm in a unique position where I was a district manager before for several years and then switched districts and
Yeah.
did more project role. And then now here I am again managing not one district again, but 2, co-managing them. So I'm just trying to figure out, it was important to me to figure out what being a mentor means now with this new role with many more people. And so fitting in that boss category, as we've been saying. And yeah, I'm just trying to navigate that and understand what that means to me now. So it was useful for that reason.
So coming out of this, David, what's what you're going to do personally to be a good mentor? Or
well, start seeking some. You mean a mentee or a mentor? Sorry.
Oh yeah, go either way for me, David. Either way.
Well,
yep.
Well, mentor, yeah, I just evoke more questions. And I think for the introverts, which is what I heard a lot of, it's important to ask questions, but maybe doing everything I possibly can then to create some environment to make them feel more open to share those things. So.
Yeah, and as a protege, what do you think? Man, you got 2 districts, you got a bucket load of talented district managers out there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Start reaching out to the districts that mirror our style now, that are much bigger operations than I'm used to for sure. So not being afraid to reach out. And not forget that there are other people out there doing your job just because you're quote in charge. There's a lot of people who are also in charge and have struggles, and you can reach out to them. So start doing that more frequently. Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes they get a lot, David, out of that relationship, sharing a issue or talking about things, talking it through, and they gain too. So the third question is, I can't wait to do something. What, fill in the blank. I can't wait to.
Honestly, it's a quick story, but I can't wait to call Craig Nelson at Okanagan and thank him a lot.
Yeah. Oh.
I actually spent my first week in Ponderay. I made the trip to Okanagan, and I did that. I asked him, was like, tell me everything, good, bad, and otherwise, how you would do it. And he wrote me a 3-page thing that I still have in physical that I look at from time to time. So hindsight, that was really valuable. And I'm going to definitely call him and let him know I was here talking to Ray about it. So.
That's golden, David, because we didn't have that in our slides, did we? Tell that mentor how much they mean to you and how that mentoring helped form your conservation journey. Oh my gosh, that's golden right there. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I'll apologize only once for picking on you first. How's that?
That's okay. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Good to hear your voice. Hey, Jennifer, how about you? Would you tune in on these 3 questions, please? Hey, Jennifer. Gonna go to Joy. Hey, Joy. Out there in our Kitsap district. Hey, Joy. Unmute. Come on in. Hey, Joy. All right, Brad, you get to go next. Brad? Down in Asotin.
I am here.
All right. Why was this course important to you? What I will do to be the best mentor or protege ever, and I can't wait to do something. Your response.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so since I've been here, I've been put in a position where I end up training our staff in the last 3 or 4 years. And so I wanted to just see what people were talking about and what I can do to maybe, actually consciously try to mentor with a purpose rather than just going through the mode. I've never really, I guess, thought about it. The fact that trying to, provide some guidance. I've just kind of done it without a plan.
Yeah.
And I think that, moving to question number 2, that would really be what I want to do, is actually mentor with a purpose and not just mentor as a side effect of just doing my job.
Yeah.
And then I think for number 3, the one thing I want to do more that has come up in this our talk today is listen more, or at least, I guess, make sure that I'm listening and be conscious of it and check myself to make sure that I'm not just having a one-sided conversation with our other employees.
Excellent. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for sharing. And hey, by the way, your dad, Rich, was one of my mentors, and I don't think he really knew it.
Oh, yeah, he was one of mine too.
Yeah, father-son thing, and you're carrying on a great generational tradition, and we're so glad that you are, Brad. Yeah, we look to Rich for a lot of things, and he would tell it straight. So sometimes being a mentor is telling things straight. So appreciate him, appreciate you. Thanks for sharing. Gonna go to Robin. Robin, you're next.
Unmute button there. Yeah, why this course is important to me personally. I think I've been the beneficiary of some good mentors over my career. Have had the opportunity to mentor on a few instances, both formally and informally. And I think just, out of kind of what Dave was saying earlier, as far as the need to continually learn and know about these topics with more depth, you got to come back and check in on things you think you know every once in a while. So I had the great opportunity to attend a mentor class that CDD put on back in 2017, and figured it was time to come back and see what I had forgotten. So that's why it was important to me. What I will do to be the best mentor or protege ever. I think we talked over a lot of important kind of facets of that relationship. I think being realistic, especially in formal settings, of what each other can do within that framework is important. And being empathetic and remembering that this relationship is, it is mutually beneficial, but it's also mainly focused on, improving the protege's prospects, whether that's in their career or technically or what have you. So just keep those things in mind. And I can't wait to employ these things on, the next opportunity that I have to mentor somebody. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks for sharing. Sierra, you go next, please. Hey, Sierra.
Hi. This course is important to me. I'm pretty early in my conservation career, so I feel like I fit the protege role more than the mentoring role.
Sure.
But I really appreciate hearing from everybody here who is more on the other side of that. And to be the best protege ever, I think for me is kind of better defining my vision so that I can seek out the appropriate mentors. And I can't wait to get busy with my thoughts in my notebook and do that.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's a good exercise that you mentioned, as a protege, the types of qualities you want in a mentor, right? And the types of experience you want in a mentor is a good place to start. And then some folks that have been around a while, would probably have a list of a couple, 3 names that they could give you, right? As potential, or maybe even introduce you to them. That's even a stronger thing, right? Some of us that have been around for a while, we may know someone that matches your experience, desires, and qualities. Yeah. So don't hesitate to ask someone that that you could get some help. So thanks, Sierra, for sharing that. Sherry, you get to go next.
Hi. Yeah,
Sherry?
I'm probably going to come from a little different perspective.
Yeah.
I have a passion for people, and I really have a passion about teamwork. And I think, all the different positions that we play, whether it's a sport or a team, we all have to play our position and to be a successful team. And at the end of the day, it's about either performing well performing as a team. And so I was very interested on whether you're a mentor or a protege, what this course would, the information that would be shared here. I really enjoy working with teams and either trying to mentor people or be a protege on people that are mentoring, so that at the end of the day, we get a good product out the door. What I'll do to be the best mentor or protege is to continue building on teamwork that we've got in our team. And I think awareness and timing is everything. And I think it's about looking for great opportunities to provide maybe the right thing to say at the right time, and to come from the heart when you're talking, so that you're trying to remove the ego out of the way, out of the equation, but to really try to connect with other people on the team, so that, like I said, at the end of the day, the product going out the door is the best that we could do. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be a marketable product that our producers are going to appreciate. What I can't wait to do is to just look for those opportunities that with a team environment that we can all grow together and become a really successful team.
Excellent. Wow, you bring up a great point. And a question that I oftentimes put in my pocket in working with teams, right, is this one. What is the most important change we can make in the way we're doing business that would improve
successful teams, I think?
Yeah, that would improve what it is that we're offering, right? So
because
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we could be playing baseball and we could be all individual players and we could be great. But if we don't get along as a team, you're not going to be able to get the outs. There's not one person that can play every position. You've got to work as a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that coaching role that you probably recognize very well, and being able to do, what it is that we need to be able to do as a team to provide that good product. All right. Let's go to Renee. Hey, Renee, answer those 3 questions with us.
All right. So why it's important is because my current job tasks, as well as in the future, I know that I will be doing some additional sort of leadership stuff here or abroad. And I really need to fix some fumbles that I've done. And so it's really important for me to address that, yes, I can come across abrasive. My approach is maybe not the best for them. So yeah, that's why I kind of need to work on. What I'll do to be the best is to really challenge those around me, but also to be true to who I am and the boundaries that I need to set for myself. And also, what do I need to fulfill this relationship? Whether it's setting firmer boundaries, maybe it's being very clear on what I can offer, also being clear on the expectation that I am anticipating. And I can't wait to tell Ray that when I first was hired in this position 6 years ago, I found out the first week that half of my employees were going to retire within the next 2 years. And that amount of turnover in institutional knowledge being lost was very threatening to me. And Ray reminded me that we are one of 45 districts in Washington state alone with over 300 employees. We have an expansive network, and that I'm not alone doing this. And that has helped so much. Because I know that I can rely on others within my same field, and just, yeah, it's made a difference because when all those people retired and then some others since then and a few other upcoming, I have a plan. I have a trajectory to resolve that, which helps. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. And Renee reminds us that sometimes that power of change, I mean, you don't want that to all happen all at once, but sometimes that new person that comes in is just, exceptional. You think, well, I have that person, but if I have that person plus, right, in the new person coming in, then that's good. So change is not always bad. Sometimes it is the motivator for becoming better. Thanks, Renee. So, hey, Jennifer, you on the line with us? Jennifer? Give a couple of beats here to see if they join us. We'll come back. Hey, Ellen. Those 3 questions, please.
Yes, I might be in an odd position because I have a goal in mind. It's what I would like to see. I'm here to pick other people's brains on their views and experiences that might relate to that problem. And I don't supervise anybody, though as a supervisor, I am supposed to be a conduit between the community and the district. I guess it's mostly to understand other people's views and approaches to a similar problem. And I guess my issue is trying to find a common ground when other people's views may not be the same. So always looking for where we agree rather than focusing on the differences. And this is part of the experience to do this. And I'm always open, sometimes educated in sort of the Socratic principles that you take an opposing position sometimes to clarify a position so that you challenge the other party to be more clear in some of the things I do. I think back to the 5 why process to find out what a person really thinks, because the first response may not be the basic reason behind the position being taken. So again, as a protege, perhaps I will listen, challenge, and try to refine things so that I understand what you understand, and hopefully the same. I can't wait too long, I guess, at my age, but still working to find the common ground where we move ahead at a faster rate than we're currently doing.
Boy, Alan, you gave such a good inspirational item for me, because the one question that I found that does work, sometimes. And Alan, you've been around long enough. You and I have been over some roads together even. What does this look like when it's working like it should? What does this look like when it's working like it should? As a way to try to draw that commonality out, right? That you thought that person over there that you were kind of at odds with wasn't on the same page as you, but they turned out that, wow, that endpoint of where they want to be, not too far off of where you want to be and where others in the room want to be. What does it look like when it's working like it should? Kind of an interesting question. Yeah.
I could throw another point in there because I'm at Whatcom County and water's a big issue, and you got people that are diametrically opposed to one another. I go back to the comment that came up with respect to the Yakima situation, where they've been fighting for 40 years over water and fish. And they finally got to the point that the Yakima party, who was in charge, and the Rosa Irrigation District, which is the largest district, had lunch together. And sitting down, they finally decided they were really ticked off because they weren't getting anywhere. It was costing a lot of money. And then they started finding out that, yeah, we wanted water to keep agriculture going, but we wanted fish, and what are the ways to do it? And that they finally found they had some common ground, and that resulted in what transpired, which is what neither wanted, but it's what they could accept.
Yeah,
so
that's
finding
good.
that common ground.
Then using those lessons in a mentoring role for the next generation of folks that come up with those serious issues, as you mentioned, Alan. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing. Rachel, you can enter yours. I understand we got audio issues there, so go ahead and enter yours in the chat box there. That'd be great, if you don't mind. And Rachel did. This webinar was important to me because I watch key personnel and other agencies retire, and so much of their knowledge, organizational partnerships, and project work has been lost. Worked hard in Benton and Cascadia back when they called it Chelan, learned so much and built programs that I want to see continue. Seems the best way to ensure continuity is to share what I've learned and what shortcuts would be recommended. Thanks, Rachel, for sharing that. Number two, want to be brutally honest and share my mistakes and what I would have done differently would be what to do as the best mentor or protege. And then I can't wait to do something, and we'll wait for that answer. Here it comes. I can't wait to offer my shoulders for someone to stand on to reach that next place of excellence. Thanks, Rachel, for sharing that. Hey, Kara, how about those 3 questions?
Well, this course was important to me because I know in my role, I probably have mentored people in the past, and I know I have had people mentor me, but never formally. So it was important for me to kind of figure out what that looks like more formally, and also to learn more about the process. What I will do to be the best mentor. Sorry, that's my dog coughing in the background. To be the best mentor, I will listen intently and ask questions profusely. And as far as being a protege, I need to let those mentors know how important they are to me. I said I've had several mentors informally. They don't know that they're my mentor, Ray, you being one of them. So I need to make sure that they understand how important they are in my career and my journey in life. So I can't wait to make a training plan. I need to have a training plan. And then for my educators as well, everybody that works for me also needs to have a training plan. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and it's never too late to do a training plan, even if you're, here in your career or there in your career early, or even late in a career, mid-range in a career. It's a good time to put a training plan. Thanks, Kara. Lorenzo left us. I would have loved to heard what he said. Didn't he offer some wonderful observations? And again, the generational intelligence relationship piece comes to my mind, which means that, you know, you may only be in the job for 2 years or whatnot, but now you have a mentoring role with someone else, right? That's just getting started, and a relationship, right? And a connection, you know, intergenerational connection, you know, between you and those other places. Well, David, you get to play too. Hey, what did you answer those 3 questions for us, even though you were a presenter today?
Oh, awesome.
Awesome.
So why this course is important to me personally? Well, it's a two-pronged thing. One, listening to what everybody has to say, to me, it helps me learn and grow even more. And as I had mentioned before, I've been a mentor, been a protege, so I want to keep getting better at each of those things. And I'm obviously a little closer. The gray hairs giveaway, a little closer to the end of the journey, but I'm not there yet. So I still have a heavy to me, the mentoring is absolutely critical to everything we do. Yeah. The whole partnership, me personally, because I want to leave it better than when I got here. Mm-hmm. What I will do to be the best mentor or protege ever, I think that's probably it, is just to keep learning and growing. And a lot of the points that folks had made about the empathy and, you know, the active listening is a really big aspect to whether you're a mentor or a protege. Active listening is very important, because I would propose that communication is the biggest hiccup in our relationships and understanding one another. So the more we can do active listening, the better that can be. And not just that too, I think that's an aspect as a supervisor I try to do as well, is listening to my people so that I can be better at what I do and better at supporting them to get their job done and keeping the BS away from them when I can do that. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I can't wait to. Oh, you know, it's kind of interesting, because I have absolutely loved my whole career. Yeah, you know, there's always ups and downs, but my commitment to what we do is stronger than ever, and I can't see that stopping. So I can't wait to just getting out there and just keep on doing all this fun stuff. I know that it kind of sounds hokey. People go, "Oh yeah, sure, Dave, blah blah blah." But really, and Ray can attest to that, I have a very strong commitment to what we do and why we do it. And the people are the driving force for what makes it all work. So this stuff, mentoring, being a protege, is how we get there.
Thanks, David. Jan, you get to go next, and then I'm going to go, and then Stephanie's going to finish our webinar today. But Jan, go next.
Yeah, thank you. Why this course is important to me personally, I kind of have a two-pronged thing there. Of course, being the CTD, I really want to, you know, help support this program that Stephanie is leading us on, and just make sure that we have, you know, all of the resources available for folks out there. On a more personal note, I've had a couple of really good and influential mentors in my life, and I want to be able to be that person for someone else, and just, you know, pass the baton in that way. So that's kind of the personal goal there. What I'm going to do to be the best mentor or protege ever is listen more. I think across the board, kind of what you were talking about, Ray, with that accepting the feedback, you know, go out and kick the rocks a couple times, but then come back in and keep moving on. And then also I was just at a conference, and we did this social skills exercise in salesmanship, but it was towards conservation, like selling conservation planning. And one of the exercises was to really listen and help the people come to their own conclusion. And the instinct to jump in and solve a problem for somebody is so strong, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, will be one thing I'll need to work on, is not just jumping in there and solving it, but sitting back, maybe throwing out some, you know, questions for them to ponder, for them to get to the place on their own.
Wow.
So I think that's one thing I could do better at. And then I just can't wait to implement this, both personally for the things I've taken away, and then also to, you know, help launch this program to be a resource for everybody. So yeah, thanks.
I'm reminded of another statement that was on our refrigerator for some time: roots to grow from and wings to fly with. And if you can, as a mentor, give those things to your protege, right? Roots to grow and wings to fly. You know, it's so important. Thanks, Jan. Okay, I get to play too. Why is this course important to me personally? Belief in the importance of mentoring has to be the reason why it's so important, and have had excellent mentors and just want to pass on any skills, you know, in the mentoring arena as protege or as mentor that we could, you know, during the course of this event today. And the other part, it was important to me because Stephanie and Jan called me and said, would you do this? And having been a part of that 2016 journey too, it was important for me to be able to do this, and honor really to be able to come back and share whatever I could share. What I will be best in the mentor and the protege ever, I think probably that, you know, fine tune those listening skills, you know, as I go along my journey, making sure that I'm open to both suggestions, you know, and criticisms and whatnot, and can do even better than I've done before. And I can't wait to call a couple of my mentors. The cool thing about being retired or semi-retired like I am is that I can just even call up my Rolodex in my phone, right? It's not a Rolodex anymore. Call up the names and just call somebody and say, hey, how's it going? And thanks so much for helping me along the way. And I hope that you're doing well too, you know, in wherever you're at. Valerie, did we get a chance to hear yours?
Not yet.
Oh, let's go. Oh, and Valerie, you contributed so much to our webinar today. All right, let's hear your responses to the three. I knew I'd missed somebody, and that doggone it all. There I am.
Okay. Well, I did jot a couple things down. This course was important to me because I want to do a good job as a mentor. And I realized while we were doing this course that I really fill more of a coach role than a mentor role. At least in the areas that I've been asked to do that. But I also serve as a de facto mentor to our staff, because out of the 14 people we have there, 8 of them have been there less than 2 years. So that's, you know, and 3 of them less than 6 months. So that's a lot of people who don't know all of that history that we have. And so when I answer a question for them, I want to give them more than just the fact that they're asking for. I want to give them the context, the structure, how to go look for this information in our tangled web of records, because, you know, I won't be there forever and they need to know how to get what they need. So, you know, expanding their thought process about how to look for things from, you know, a different angle. So that's important to me, to serve as a mentor for our own staff as best I can. I think how to be best in those roles, in both aspects, as a mentor or a mentee, I need to ask more questions and you know, pay attention to the answers. And you know, anybody that knows me knows I'm not particularly shy about asking questions when I need an answer for something, but I don't necessarily ask about bigger picture things. You know, I can't really say that I've had one career mentor that was a magical person who could be both a boss and a mentor, and she retired a year ago. And I miss her a lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, Peggy was a gem in that way. And so I need to see how can I be more like her, and also make a little bit more effort to seek mentors in my own life.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm coming to a part of my career that I've never faced. Most of us do that in different phases of our life. And, you know, how am I going to help set up succession successfully for my district? I don't have anyone else, but there's one other person that's nearing retirement in our district. And, you know, so we don't really have anybody internally to look to for that. I need to look externally for that. So, and then I think the thing that I'm most excited about doing next is to capture some thoughts from today and make a list of goals and reminders of things that I can do better as a mentor, and be more deliberate about that.
Excellent. Thanks, Valerie. Excellent. Let's check in now with our co-facilitator and sponsor of the session, the Stephanie. Stephanie, your responses to these three.
Absolutely. Well, why this course and just this topic in general is really important to me personally. Here at Blue CD, we are actually really lucky and have a lot of staff, and some of those staff members have been here for a while, and there is some of that institutional knowledge that's floating out there. And so when I started, you know, as intimidating as it is, there were staff members here who were so willing to sit down with me and have conversations, or take me out to a field site visit to kind of share all of those intricacies, not just the technical knowledge, but how a district works and how it functions. And I think now, as I am moving on in my career and starting to be more comfortable in my position, you know, taking that turn and starting to be a mentor, or having information that I can start to pass on to other staff members, it's just something that I want to be able to provide to others, and I want to be able to share that not just within PCD, but hopefully with our other partners that we work with within county and throughout all of our partnerships that we have. So that's why it's really important to me. And then what I can do to be the best mentor or protege. Today, you know, we had a lot of conversation of the difference between kind of being a boss and coaching and being a mentor. And I think for me, I'd really like to take a lot of that back with me, and making sure I'm being a coach as a boss or a supervisor, and seeking out opportunities for me to be a mentor. So there is that clear distinction. And so I can continue to help others and pass on knowledge, but I don't have to worry about being a supervisor or being in that role as well. So really trying to kind of separate those two things and really strengthening my skills in each one of those. And then I just can't wait to continue to grow and learn. And as far as working with CTD, taking as much knowledge and sharing it with everybody across the state, to try to provide resources and make sure that you as a mentor and other people are feeling confident and stepping up to those opportunities as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. And wow, what a time we had this morning exploring informal mentoring, also the more formal mentoring, the coaching, the certification mentoring, that role of a boss, you know, being a boss, and sometimes being a mentor, you know, in that role. You explored a lot of different roles and a lot of different aspects of outstanding mentoring, so that we can also make note of, you know, some really important things that we did talk about. A more formal evaluation will come your way via the link. We've got a link here that's going to be sent to all of you, and making sure that you have the opportunity to, you know, enter a webinar survey for us. So we'll do that. I'll leave that here on the screen. I see Valerie's writing it down. Others of you are writing it down. We're going to send you these, the video, the notes, and the PowerPoint slides, right? we'll send all those to you and make sure. And Jan, I think you offered to be able to do that too. And appreciation. Thanks, Valerie, for your note here. And we appreciate that very much too. Couple things here. Stephanie, any closing comments you want to make for the group?
I just wanted to thank everybody for being here today. I think we had a really great discussion and a lot of topics that were discussed. I know we kind of went round robin to kind of reflect on those individually, but I really do hope that you think about those in the next coming weeks of what did you take away? How can you be a better mentor, and how can you seek out those opportunities? Personally, mentoring is a little intimidating, and so I think just with more experience and practice and resources, I think it's a really great way to connect with others and share that information. So I implore you to keep growing and reaching out for opportunities. The link for the survey is now in the chat. Thank you, Jan, for putting that there. Please fill that out. It helps us kind of adapt and adjust for our upcoming webinars, and just gives us an idea of how everything went today. And then, of course, if you are interested or have questions, we've got the CTD emails on screen right now. We got David Rose's contact information as well on there. Please don't hesitate to reach out. So again, thank you so much for being with us here today to talk about mentoring. And of course, Ray, thank you so much for being our facilitator and our presenter and just navigating this topic so flawlessly.
And just one more offering to the three that were just offered. If you, my email is that personal one there, and the phone hasn't changed in years. So reach out if you want to, and love to visit with you about whatever. Thanks so much, folks. That concludes our webinar today. And just for the note, I think we're giving you 36 minutes of your life back to go do some great mentoring or become a great protege. Thanks so much to our speakers. Thanks so much to all of you for participating. Thanks so much also for the opportunity to provide this. So we'll end the session there. And a great deal of thanks to everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.